All right, looks like we're live. It's Monday morning, October 11th. Another week. Had a good week end of the week last week with Clove. We'll talk about that and some other stocks right now. Your pal Al, what's up? Josh Stewart, Noar, 6'8 Spindrift, what's going on? JJ, Brian Sanders, happy Monday. JSOB, what's up? Good morning. Kenneth, JF. Who else we got in here? Greg, what's going on? Sly Dev, good morning. Yeah, so Shema tweeted on Friday. I see you said that, Al. So yeah, that was the big thing, the big news on Friday. Not just Shema, but just the CMS 3.5 stars. Um, and then basically that got the stock moving kind of early on, and then Shamath came out and started tweeting about Clove, which we haven't seen from him in a while, and I think that started spiking a little bit more interest in it, and we saw this thing run all the way up to 808. It closed at about, I think it closed the day at 785. Didn't get too much traction after that, but then this morning it dropped down to 779 and popped right back up to 805. Looks like we're at about 790 right now. But yeah, Friday was exciting. We're starting to see 300,000 volume already. So today could be another interesting day. Definitely expecting a little bit more volume to be poured into this stock this week. And the option chain starting to look pretty nice. At least to get a little bit of a ramp going. If we were to pass like 850, 9, get into those numbers, it maybe has enough in there to push us upwards of 13 or 14, somewhere in that neighborhood. If we really start getting the volume coming in. So yeah, could be really exciting this week for Clove. Barack, what's up? Good morning. Kimster. Yeah, Kenneth says, excited to have this convo again in 12 months, and when we get to like 4 stars. It could be, yeah, I think that's definitely, the next step. And I mean, 4 stars makes the company profitable instantly. I think the big thing right now is going to be the MCR, like seeing where that's at. Once we get, these next earnings in November, seeing if there was any sort of decrease in that, which will help with profitability, but also their guidance now looking forward, and then hearing more about the tech side and what's going on with Clover Assistant and their plans for that. All things that could be potential catalysts as we move forward into the next quarter. Al says the mic is turned on. Yeah, was that Friday when I didn't have it turned on? I came and started talking, and then all of a sudden, I got like halfway through the comments and noticed that I was talking with the computer mic. I got to remember to check that every morning. Anthony, what's up? Says let's go. E Money, good morning. We got Dennis D in here. Day late, dollar short. Scotty, what's up? Yeah, Scotty. So, those dudes on Twitter, man, they always they've been doing that for months, since before the June run up. They it's like they have a position in Clove. I think it's just the way they kind of their delivery is wrong, because they're actually long Clove as well. But they just, I don't know. I usually just ignore them. But yeah. Let's see here. I think I'm all caught up now. DJ Tardis, what's up? Good morning. So before we get into the stocks, yesterday was actually the first Sunday I was able to sit back and watch some football. There were some pretty good games. Obviously my 49ers lost. The Raiders did too. That was probably the most shocking. I really thought they were going to beat the Bears. But yeah, it was had some good games in terms of the pool. It looks like, let me see if I can pull this over. There's 17 of us left. All right, so looks like the top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of us still have all the have not got one wrong, and then the rest of the other 11 have used one mulligan so far. So I see Scotty right there. But yeah, so there's 17 of us left in the survivor pool. It's been pretty fun. I'll try to figure something out. Maybe we'll do something for college basketball when it comes around too. For do some brackets or something, just something for everybody who comes in here every day. I know a lot of us watch sports as well as trade stocks and do everything else. So John Head, what's up? Good morning. Big Nate, what's going on? So Patrick says, what's going on with VIH? I'm wondering the same exact thing, and I was actually going to talk about that this morning. So they did get, they're moving over to the New York Stock Exchange on Friday, right after we signed off. This thing dropped down and hit 907, and I didn't have a stop loss set. And I was at work, and I got to work and checked it out, and it was already kind of rallying back. But it's still trading way below NAV. I tried to find some news on it. Let me just pull up my news thing right now, and I haven't been able to find any news as to why it dumped like that. The last thing on the on the news feed about it is basically that it's getting transferred to the New York Stock Exchange. They have the merger meeting is coming up this week, the 15th, I believe, and I don't know. That's just pretty crazy. I mean, this is still, the worth of this stock is still $10. Because it's pre-merger. But I went ahead and set a stop loss now at 9, which is kind of low. I really don't even want to hold it that long. I probably would have been stopped out if I actually had a stop loss set. I don't know why I didn't. But yeah, this thing fell down hard, and it with no news behind it. The merger's on its way up. There is a ton of open interest still on the option chain. This is still a highly shorted stock. Anyone who's not aware, maybe is just joining now or whatever. My whole reason for being in this play was that, at some point when the merger was announced, or when there was some news behind it, looking at Ortex data on VIH right now, 34% short interest, cost to borrow, not too high, but it's high. It's not 1. It's sitting at 6, and it's got 99% utilization. So these are all decent numbers to get some sort of short squeeze if there's a catalyst behind it to cause some movement in the stock. To me, I'm thinking, a perfect catalyst would be the actual merger getting announced, when it's going to happen and all that. And I had talked about exiting before the merger took place, kind of sell the news type of thing. But this price action on Friday was kind of crazy, and it looks like it's dipping down a little bit right now too. This morning hitting as low as 930. So yeah, Patrick, I wish I had more info on that one. I mean, I'm sitting right in there with you. I'm assuming you're in it as well. I would imagine it'll probably start working its way back up to 10 again, because that's pre-nav, that's what it's worth. $10 is supposed to be the floor on these SPACs. Now once they merge, it could be it could go in either direction, obviously. But I would imagine it'll get back up to 10 before the merger this week. And there's still that potential for the gamma squeeze and some sort of short squeeze or something to kind of pop off as well. So definitely going to be keeping my eye on this one. But that was crazy on Friday. Let me see. Let me get Clove back up here real quick. Josh says the Chiefs are making me want to bang my head on a wall. Yeah. Well, I don't know. There's always that Super Bowl hangover, and I was talking about that on the show with Ghost, No Financial Limits. In the very first show we did, we were talking about what we thought who was going to win each division and all that kind of stuff. And I actually picked the Chargers, not because I'm high on the Chargers. I just kind of said that it never fails. The team that makes it all the way to the Super Bowl and loses typically doesn't do very well the following season. That doesn't always play out that way, but that's usually what happens. Kind of that Super Bowl hangover thing, and it looks like that's happening to the Chiefs right now. I mean, they're a great football team, but they're sitting at 2-3. They were all in games that they were could have easily won. Last night was probably the worst for them, but they still had some opportunities in that game, and I think that this is just going to be kind of a rough year for them. Let's see here. Bob C says, hope your weekend was a good one. Yeah, actually, like I said, I had no flag football yesterday with the kids, so it was the first weekend that I actually got to sit down and watch football all day on a Sunday. My Saturdays have still been kind of running around like crazy. My oldest son is playing basketball now too, so he had his first game on Saturday, and then we had a couple parties we had to roll to, and so it's kind of a busy weekend, but did get to relax yesterday a little bit. Let's see here. Thoughts on Ccxi? That was one of the plays from Friday, right? I might as well go over those right now. So on Friday, I believe, I'm looking at my notes right now, kind of the stocks that were on the watch list for day trading and everything was Ccxi was one. That thing shot up. I think we were looking right around here is where we saw it, and we talked about, I don't know much about this stock in terms of, its long-term potential or anything like that, but this was one of the movers on Friday. I didn't day trade anything on Friday, but I know it had an adjusted price target up to I think just now I just see this. It's got a price target raised to $38, which is kind of right where it's trading at right now. And it looks like Raymond James upgrades it, boosts the price target to 107. Damn. So, yeah, you got JP Morgan raised the price target to 38. SVB upgrades it to 64. And Raymond James upgrades it to 107. So, this thing might end up keep moving today, but for me, what we were talking about on Friday, and I keep saying with this, when you're looking at stocks to day trade, or when you see something pop really big, you kind of want to wait and look for a good entry point, and it looks like it did provide one right around here at $30. I always look for this crossover of the 50 SMA, on an entry point for a day trade. And I mean, if you were playing that, I think it ended up running from about 30, let's say 30.68. I mean, all the way to a high of 40.81. And then even if you got out and played it again for this little pop, a couple bucks in there. So, It's pretty intriguing though. I mean, Ccxi is shit. I mean, trading at 38 right now, and if you look at these price targets, I mean, I would imagine that maybe it's got some more room to run. Um, but again, I don't know much about this stock. Let's see here. Looks like the big news last week was blood vessel inflammation drug gets the FDA nod. Okay. All right. Let's see here. Scotty says heading to go yell at people Disney tomorrow. Yeah, Scotty, I'm jealous, man. Going back to Disney World. I've never been. I've only been to Disneyland, but one day I'm gonna head out there and I'll hit you up. We can go catch up out there. You know, for sure. If I ever make my way out to Florida, that's where I'm going. Turts McGurts, what's up? Good morning. Pete, what's up? Kenneth says he wants the castle in the background for the shot on Friday. Yeah, Scotty's going to come at us live from Disneyland on Friday, I believe, or Disney World, my bad. Oh, wow. So JSOB said he bought that stock in June. Oh, I'm looking at Clove again now. Damn, you're looking pretty good then right now. I mean, I don't know when you bought it in June, but it's somewhere between $10 and $14 is your cost average. That's a pretty good profit right there. I mean, again, obviously, if you bought into this in June, you know a lot more about the stock than I do, just pulling it up right away. But I mean, shit, it's got recent highs of 70. This is a weekly view now, just to see where it's been in the past. I mean, man, I would definitely, if you're already looking at like like 3 times profits, definitely maybe pay yourself a little bit. Take a little bit out. That's the way I would play it, at least. Although, who knows? This thing can keep ripping, and we saw some price targets of 60 or whatever. But the biggest thing that'll hurt you in trading and investing and everything is greed, right? I know we've talked about that on here before. It's just like, always when you're staring at these profits now with all these elevated price targets, I mean, shit, you're probably, and with the cost average down there at like $15 or something, I don't think it's going to be heading back to 15 anytime soon. It looks like, if anything, it's going to be heading upwards. However, anything can happen, right? So just, either set some sort of stop loss, or if you're going to hang on for like more of a long-term play. But it never hurts to take profits either. Let me see here. Andy Smith, what's up? Any thoughts on Wish? It's funny you asked that, because Wish is one I never really got into, on the big run up before, or, when it was getting pumped way back here. And I've just been kind of watching it, and it's been coming down, and it just hit an all-time low. And I just looked at this last week, just to kind of see, like, is this thing getting shorted? Is this going to end up being, I know there's a lot of people in Wish right now, that bought in because, again, it was getting pumped for a while, and it doesn't look like it's got like any insane short interest right now. It's like 14%. I don't know about the company fundamentally for to know if this is a buy here, but it is pretty intriguing to see it like at its all-time low. A lot of times, it gets into this oversold state, and no matter what's going on with the stock, this is a weekly view now, just to see if we could look back further, but it looks like no. But sometimes when they get down here to this all-time low, obviously once it finds a bottom, it's going to go up, right? And it's got a lot of room to go up if the fundamentals are there behind it too. But who knows if this is actually the bottom? I mean, it could still have more room to go down. But I've been keeping my eye on this one, trying to see when it's gonna have a reversal, because it's been beaten down so badly. The other one that I've been checking out is Workhorse. Again, not a stock that I've ever invested in, but I know this was a big squeeze play previously, and it had some decent pops, from 7 to 18, and now it's just been getting beaten down. And again, this is one that's at its all-time low too. But the interesting thing I noticed about Workhorse when I was looking at it was this actually does look like a decent squeeze play right now, sitting at the bottom. So if we take a look here, 41% short interest, cost to borrow, 9, that's still high. Utilization's at 100% right now. Okay, 74% of the free float's on loan. Days to cover is ridiculous, almost at 11, just because of the low volume in it. So I know you're asking about Wish, and it just reminded me about Workhorse was one that I've been, looking into all these stocks, and kind of the same thing that we just saw with Wish. Like, it's sitting down here at this all-time low. At some point, it's gonna reverse the trend. Who knows if the bottom is 6, maybe the bottom's 5. But when that happens, especially with Workhorse, you now have this this short interest that plays a role too, because when it starts climbing back up, now you're going to have shorts that, maybe you're going to start feeling a little bit of pain and trying to get out, which is going to make it go up even higher. Workhorse is also one that I've kind of been keeping my eye on. I'm not in either play, but definitely ones that I've been watching right now. Let me see here. Let's go back. Get our Clove back up here real quick. Jason, what's up? Good morning. Joseph Scott says up 100%. That's awesome, man. So what's the upcoming timeline for the Clover Assistant? When could we start seeing positive news from the debut Clover Assistant as well? So my understanding is that they're using the Clover Assistant right now for Clover Health. Like, they have doctors that are using it, and they're seeing all these good results. Like, I think the MCR for patients that are using Clover Assistants is way better than those that aren't. And so they have all this data. It's artificial intelligence, right? So it grows with the more data that's put into it. And they've done all this stuff where we've seen news release on patents on integration, where, to me, I would think that their long-term outlook is going to be to lease this software to other insurance companies and kind of to other people, and start making money off of the Clover Assistant and not just use it internally. That's what my thoughts. That's my speculation on it. So I don't know. I mean, I have no idea. I think last go around with earnings, we saw leading up to it some news about, like, again, the patents, the expansion stuff I just talked about, where they made it so that it could be integrated into all these different clouds. And so I think that we'll continue to see that sort of stuff, like, closer to like maybe the November earnings, maybe get a little bit more information about it. But yeah, I think that's going to be huge, is when we start seeing more and more news and more growth out of the AI side and the tech side. Because to me, that's what this play is all about, is the tech. Like, there's so many health insurance companies out there, and what sets it apart, what makes this stock different, is that technology side that they have. And that to me, that's the real play. So I have no idea on when it's going to happen. But But I would imagine, as we get into all these earning calls every 3 months, we'll start to get more guidance on, the company's outlook for the future. And I'm expecting that that's something that's going to be like the key thing that they talk about. Present Minds, good morning. What's up? Greed. Yeah, no, I'm not saying you're greedy, Joseph. I'm just saying in general, that's the biggest thing is greed, right? I mean, I've had it happen to me in plays in the past where it's like you're looking at, and I'm not trying to talk you out of holding this stock. I mean, I just don't know enough about it to really give any input. But I mean, shit, the price targets on it look, pretty damn good. Like it should be going up even further. So you probably do want to hold. But just don't never be too greedy. Never when you're sitting there and you have a nice profit on something, always take a little bit, shave a little bit off, even if it's just like 10%, 20%, and put some cash in your pocket to either put into, to have some dry powder to put into a new play or whatever it may be. That way, if something does go south and all of a sudden, they get their FDA thing, pulled or anything could happen, right? At least you paid yourself a little bit. At least you profited off the play, because you never know what's going to happen. BBIG. Yeah, let's take a look at that. That was the other one. So, BBIG was one that we were talking about on Friday as well. Started getting some volume, and I mean that thing just started dropping. Look at the daily view on this. I mean, it had this nice pop to 1250, and I mean now it's sitting down at 5. Looks like it's got, it could go as low as 2, even 1. I mean, I'm just looking at, kind of these lower levels. But that's another stock, like some of these short squeeze plays. And I know we talked about this a lot last week. I started talking about, that kind of this theory that I have where I've been looking at, the IV on these stocks. And I think that's more important than short interest and anything else. Like BBIG right now, decent short interest, decent cost to borrow, utilization's right there. It's all the stuff that you'd want to see. But we see these numbers all the time on these stocks, and then they're not squeezing, they're not jumping up. Why? Well, to me, what I think is really going on is like, okay, BBIG right now has 200% IV, implied volatility. So while the option chain looks insane and there's all this room for growth in there, at 200% IV implied volatility, it's, it makes it worthwhile for market makers to manipulate this thing and just rake in these premiums. So they'll keep selling you calls and selling people calls on all these things, and they'll continue to pin the price down right at max pain, because it's worthwhile. You're getting that 200 IV. But then when the IV starts to drop and we start to see it settle down around 100%, 120%, somewhere in there, that's when, it doesn't make as much sense for them to sit there and manipulate that stock. They'll move on to other ones with higher IV, and they'll let these ones run. Because max pain, it's not, because I had a friend of mine ask me this the other day, like, well, wouldn't you just look at every stock and just see what the max pain is and then not get into a stock that's, or whatever? But max pain it's not always a thing. Like you could look up, 15, 20 different stocks, and most of them end up closing the day out or closing the week out above max pain, some way below. It's not that every stock always gets pinned to max pain. But when you have like extremely high implied volatility, that means the options contracts cost more, right? So that's when it makes more sense for a market maker, who's selling all these option contracts to really put their resources into pinning this stock to max pain, because they stand to profit way more off, manipulating these stocks with the high IV. So max pain right now for BBIG is at $6 for this week. I would imagine that it potentially might, see a run up to 6, something like that throughout this week. Maybe, start riding back up, but then kind of get stopped there, because of that insanely high IV that we see. ATER is another one that, I'm sure some of you guys watched that video I made last Wednesday, and it has way better numbers on the short squeeze side, than even BBIG has. And it kind of looked like it was forming, I'm not really huge on TA, but it looked like it was forming this nice wedge, and it was looking to break out in either direction. And so I kind of talked about like 950 being a level, and then $9 being for sure a level that I would get out at. And luckily I got stopped out, because now it looks like it's heading in the opposite direction. But with ATER, what still intrigues me is max pain's up here at 10. So I could still see this stock maybe bouncing back a little bit. And it's got huge gamma squeeze potential right now too. If it can pass 10, I don't know. The way the IV's looking right now on that one. Oh, what just happened there? That was crazy. All right. The way the IV's looking right now on that one, we're looking at %193%. So kind of in that same ballpark where, doesn't mean that these plays can't or won't pan out. It's just when the implied volatility is so high, it really kind of, what I'm seeing, this year, looking at all these squeeze plays, is it seems like, aside from all the other numbers, when you get that extremely high IV, it gets nailed right back down to the max pain number. Don't know much about it, but I heard it mentioned on Reddit a few times. EZFL. Yeah, so let me pull up the we haven't looked at the scanner at all this morning, but I know that was one that I saw popped up on there this morning as well. So the biggest ones for volume scans this morning, we have Ptgx is up 93%. This thing was trading down here at $18. It's up to $35 right now. Looks like FDA lifts clinical hold. So might as well get into these right now. And I'm actually going to be home today. So I'm planning on doing a little day trading. So I definitely want to get this watch list put together right now. So Ptgx, looks pretty intriguing right now with the 92%. What is this? Yeah, it's up 92% right now. If we look at the daily chart on this one, so this is a stock that was previously trading at 46 and then gapped down. And right now it's at 35. So I would imagine, again, we're looking at a daily chart right now. If it opens up somewhere around here, it's going to look to fill this previous gap up or gap down, and try to come up here and get up here at least to like 46 intraday. And then who knows if it breaks past that. Looks like there's a lot of room to keep running to the upside if it can break 50. But at the same time, before it even tries to fill that gap, it just created a new gap to the downside, back down to 19. So I know it can go in either direction, right? But that's why I'm gonna sit back and watch a play like this, and then look for entry points and exit points, and just try to play it throughout the day. Don't want to be like entering in right now and as like a holder, so to speak. It's more, these plays are more about just trading, looking for entry points and looking for that range. And that's an insane amount, like range. Like you figure if it breaks to the downside, you got about $16 worth of movement there. And if it breaks upwards, you got another $5, to fill the gap to the top. And then if it breaks 50, who knows how high it can go. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on that one for sure. The other one that popped up on the scanner was FLXN. Relatively same float. Looks like they just got acquired by another company, Bioscience, and they're a therapeutical company. But this thing is up right now 70%. $4 was trading at $6. So kind of the same thing. Huge range there. Right now it's going to open up at about 975, somewhere around here. Okay, looks like that could be some resistance at 980, which is exactly where it's trading at right now. So if it breaks through that, you got a little bit more room to run up here. So this is definitely another one that I think would be pretty intriguing. And then again, always look for this downside because it's going to have this huge gap to fill. And this has a nice chart too. You can see like in the flow, there's not really a lot of gaps. Every time there is a gap, it looks like there's a little one back here, and it came and filled it shortly after. And so it's a pretty nice chart. This is FLXN. And then to get back to your question, EasyFL, that was one that was on my scanner earlier this morning, and it's not even in the top 10 on there right now. But let's take a look at it. So here's a daily chart on EasyFL. Looks like it's up about 25% this morning. Easy fills fleet size more than triples with new fuel trucks. Shares rise. We're looking at daily view right now. If we look at the 5-minute chart, yeah, it looks like it's just been ripping this morning. Volume wise, this is a relatively much smaller float, 12 million, and it's already seeing 1.2 million in volume this morning. So might even keep that one on there too as a third candidate, but that's probably it. I'll probably just go with those three right now, unless something else pops up. And again, kind of the key here, when you're looking to day trade, is one, you don't want a ton of stocks. You don't want to be watching like 12 different stocks, or you kind of want to just pay attention to maybe 3 of them. Keep an eye on those, get a feel for them, see if if you see something you don't like, maybe it's too choppy. But look, we're looking at a minute. Look how nice these minute candles look here on Ptgx compared even to Clove. Like Clove's doesn't have nearly enough volume right now to be a good day trade candidate. Not that I would day trade it anyways, but you see all this, like these gaps, and it's choppy all over the place. Again, we're also in pre-market right now. But usually if you could see these nice, this nice flow with the candles in pre-market, then that should carry over. That volume should move over with us into market open and give us some good opportunities. So I'm going to keep these 3 up right now. And we'll see if anything else pops up. I haven't checked on L Train either. He usually sends me out his scanner every morning, and I usually get some good ones on there. Or if it ends up that we both are on the same ones, usually those end up being the better ones, is what I'm noticing. And it does look like he has EasyFL, FLXN on his scanner as well, and Ptgx. So along with some other ones, but I think I'm just going to stick with those right now for this morning. What's the estimated time that we get Q3 earnings for Clove? I want to say, usually it's right around the same time. So if we look at like a yearly view, and let me go back even further, go to weekly. Looks like we got it in, so August 9th, May 17th, March 1st. Usually it'll show me back here when the previous earnings reports were. So, I would imagine based on when they've done it in the past, usually it's every 3 months. So, although this doesn't really match up, I would say probably somewhere around like November 11th, somewhere around there. I'm sure we could look it up and figure out the exact date. I'll try to look for that after the stream's over this morning, but probably like early November, mid-November, right around then. Oh, there we go. Kenneth already answered it. Skip says checking ATER max pain for the week. Yeah, it's at 10 right now. And I don't know if it was you, Skip, or somebody commented on that video I did on ATER over the weekend. I think it was you, and asked like, hey, what with max pain being at 10, does that leave room to like, basically for this stock to continue to run upwards? And I think so. Shit, looking where it's at right now, trading at 785, especially if it gets beaten down a little bit more today. That's a still pretty decent movement if you got an extra $2.10 to get it up to max pain. I could see that, and what is that, about 20-30%? If you were to get in now and ride it up. Now, I'm not jumping in to buy it right now, though. I would just be keeping an eye on it and looking for, again, an entry point and kind of ride it up throughout the day, because who knows, this thing could get hammered down even lower. But just the way it's looking right now with the implied volatility and the way that they've been able to control this stock. Joey G said he called it with Justin Fields. Yeah, that's right. I was watching the Niner game, and then we kept kind of flipping over to the Raider game, so I didn't watch the game as much. If I was at home, I would have had it on. I got 2 TVs now to watch, so that I could watch, because of that, so I could like throw the Red Zone channel on and then watch the Niners on another, on the big screen or whatever. But I was not at home for the Niner game, and so we were just watching it on one TV. So I didn't get a chance to really watch the Raider game, but we were kind of keeping up with it and stuff, and that was just crazy. I want to go back after I sign off today and kind of watch the highlights and stuff. But that was probably the most shocking game. I thought the Raiders were gonna do better than that. At least keep it close. Turt says earnings are on November 10th. All right, right on, man. Thank you. KLF, good morning. Louis, what's up? SoFi upgraded price target to 25. Shit, and it's trading at 17 right now. I'm just waiting for the day we get these price target upgrades on Clove, because they've got to be coming right around the corner. The most recent price targets that we've seen are what? Well, besides that Cohen one of $7, it was like, they're right in that $8-9 range. And to me, this company should be worth at a minimum, $20. Especially when you factor in the tech and everything else. And I'm saying at like a bare minimum. So I would imagine we're going to start seeing some price targets rolling out at some point. Maybe potentially even this week. We might need to wait until November 10th. That's fine if we have to wait until the earnings. But I'd love to start seeing some of those start rolling in, because, the stocks move with them, Even these BS ones, like when we got that $7 one that day, the stock dropped. They tend to move with these analyst ratings. Clovis Frank says, "What do you think of DraftKings?" Yeah, I love DraftKings as a long-term play. I talked about it a little bit last week about how I'm just kind of waiting to see what happens with the market before I enter back in, because there is still some room for DraftKings to drop. Now, do I think? Obviously, when I got in DraftKings down back here, I wasn't thinking that it was going to drop. I was actually expecting it to keep rolling up to, I think like $80, $90, somewhere around there. And then I took profits somewhere along the way and then rolled them into further out options. But then when the market started dropping, I exited. I'm looking to get back into DraftKings. There's nothing wrong with this stock. It's just moving downwards like the rest of the markets are. And the markets have been so damn choppy recently. I'm glad you bring it up because I want to take a look at the SPY again. So look at all these gaps that are being created right now. And now we have a gap to the downside. And I would imagine that, we're going to end up seeing, this drives me crazy when I'm looking at daily view and I have all these other lines on here. But I'll leave them up because I'm not going to have it up too much longer. But so we're looking at, just in case anyone else is wondering, this is like the daily view, but now we have VWAP, the 50 SMA, all my stuff for my 1 minute chart, just stuck with it. Here, I'll just go ahead because it's driving me crazy. There we go. So, there are some gaps now to the downside as well, that need to be filled, and who knows what's going to happen here. The market still hasn't came back. I would say if it, gets back up here and crosses and holds above like 443, maybe even 445, to show that it's out of this little correction that's going on or all this choppiness, and it's ready to, move on to new highs, that's when I'll jump back in DraftKings and some of my other plays. But for right now, I'm just sitting on cash with them because, if all of a sudden this thing comes down and fills this gap, if it starts dropping lower, if it comes all the way back here, and tries to fill this gap at 400, we're going to see a lot of stocks, basically give whatever they have left in them. And so with DraftKings, if we are to see the market continue to come down, I could see DraftKings definitely coming down to this level at 41, maybe even down here to 35 before turning around, at this previous low. So for me, I like the stock. I still think that there's a ton of potential in there for, I think they have November earnings coming up right now, which would be somewhere around the same time as Clove's. And then, the February earnings are the big one that I want to be a part of the stock to move into. Now, me sitting out on the sidelines right now, I may be missing out on, let's say, some upward movement to get back up here to like 55 range or even the 60 range. But I also don't want to be holding when it, if all of a sudden it breaks this way. So I'm just waiting for the market to turn around. Once I see that the market's ready to start ripping forward, I'm jumping right back in DraftKings. I really love it. I think it's a great play. They've got so much expansion going on as gambling's getting legalized everywhere across the United States. This is the biggest time of the year for DraftKings with, football season, and not just daily fantasy sports, but also gambling on football is a big part of their business now. And gambling on football is the biggest time for, any books, sports books, as like football is the one that's bet the most heavily on between college and NFL. So this time of the year should be profitable for DraftKings. And that's kind of what this whole play was all about for me, was getting involved now and then letting it run up to their February earnings, which will show all of what they, all of football season for the most part, right? But yeah, I'm just sitting back right now and watching. I don't want to get I just don't want to, if this market ends up, continuing to go red and be in like correction mode. I want to play it safe, and really the only stocks that I'm holding on to are like my, Clove, because I feel like Clove's already bottomed out. When you look at a daily chart on Clove, if the market goes into correction mode and everything, starts giving as much as they can, Clove's already down here at the bottom. So it's to me a little bit safer. But then you look at some of these other stocks. I mean, shit, we could pull up anything, even like a Disney, and you know, there's still some noticeable gaps right here. As you continue to look back, and who knows if the market starts correcting, and you could see your Disney stock come all the way down to 156 or all the way down to 127. That doesn't mean that's what it's worth. I'm not saying Disney's a shit stock. I'm just, I pulled this one up, and there's just so much to give if we start seeing a market turn down. And that's why I went cash with a lot of my positions right now, is just to kind of see how things shake out, and then turn into a buyer when all these stocks do end up down here, if that's the case. Um, there we go. Michael, what's up? What's going on? Lisa, haven't seen Lisa in a while. What's up, Lisa? Good morning. Okay, no school this week. Right on. Yeah, I'm actually, so I had to take the day off of school because my kids are off school, so they don't have school today. My school is actually my school is, the kids are not at school, but it's a staff development day. Teachers have to go in, but I gotta stay here with my kids. So yeah, I may even run the stream a little bit longer this morning. We'll have to see how it goes. Um, oh wow, so Lisa's doing some teaching kindergarten, first grade, right on. All right, so we kind of looked around at a couple different stocks. The three that I'm watching for day trade opportunities this morning are Ptgx, FLXN, and EZFL. SoFi looks to be moving a little bit this morning with some analyst upgrades. Um, the other stocks that I'm going to always have on my watch list, and we've talked about this before, is a lot of these squeeze plays that we've been playing, like SDC. ATER is always going to be on my watch list right now for multiple reasons. One, it gives some great day trade opportunities, and it has been for the last 3 weeks. But on top of that, if it breaks max pain, which is at $10, I really think that ATER has some gamma squeeze potential for this week. And then other than that, yeah, I'll just be continuing to watch these a lot of these squeeze plays and these ones, and looking for opportunities to kind of stick and move, as Ghost would say, which brings me to another point. So today's Monday, no financial limits with Ghost. We'll be doing that show again. We do it every Monday leading up to the Monday Night Football game. So that's going to be at God, I'm tired right now. What time do we start? We start at 4 o'clock on the West Coast, 7 o'clock on the East Coast. So, and it's Ghost and I. We usually spend about half the show talking stocks, talking about the markets. And then the second half of the show, we talk football, make some picks. I don't even know how I did last night, but I've been doing terrible on my picks. I started the first week, I think, at 5-3, and then went like 3-5 the following 2 weeks or something like that. So hopefully I turned it around a little bit. But anyways, yeah, so it's a lot of fun. The NFL show, we do it every Monday. So if you have a chance, come check it out, or you can always watch the repeats later. But anyways, let's see here. So Ravi says, Will there be a short squeeze on Clove? Um, I think that the possibility exists. I think that, where Clove is at right now, being so beat down and what the company's actually worth fundamentally, like take all the squeezes and everything out of it. When all of a sudden we end up seeing the price targets where they're supposed to be at, like even if we got a $20 price target, an $18 price target, which I think is still low for this company, as soon as the analyst ratings come out and put this stock, somewhere where it should be fundamentally, not even considering the tech, just on the insurance side, all of a sudden we're going to see a ton of volume come pouring in, more buyers, more retail interest. We're going to see this stock start heading north. Now, when that happens, there's a couple things that could play out. The option chain, depending on where it's at, might give us some nice opportunities for some gamma ramps or gamma squeezes. And also on the short side with Clove, it's really hard to know exactly what the short interest is. There's been some dilution to the float since June, right? We've seen the float get bigger. If we look at the short interest right now is only showing at 16%. I mean, that's still somewhat high. Utilization's at 83. That's still somewhat high. Cost to borrow isn't there. So, can it squeeze? I mean, I think that there's going to be other factors, like, for instance, you get a price target come out at like $18. The stock starts moving north and it gets up to like 10, 11, 12. Well, there is still a significant amount of short interest in this stock. We have 54 million shares on loan right now. That's a lot of shares that are going to need to be covered if the stock starts heading north and, shorts start getting, caught in there. Is it going to make the stock project upwards 300, 400%? I have no clue. But there is a lot of short interest in this stock. And I think that, a culmination of everything happening with it, I think it could be a little bit of a short squeeze mixed in with, a gamma squeeze mixed in with this stock just moving on fundamentals too. To answer your question, I know I probably talked in circles right there. I'm tired this morning, but I hope that makes sense. But I think there's absolutely still a chance for some violent upward movement in this stock. Speaking of which, we had talked about the option chain on Friday, and then I also talked a little bit about it in that video I made over the weekend, kind of the weekend update on Clove, just to see where we were at. There was like 60,000 volume at this $8 strike. And it looks like that converted over to 22,000 in open interest. Okay, so that's pretty significant when we look at the chain. IV on this is pretty low right now, which should make max pain not too relevant. It's not like we're sitting at 200% IV or something where it's really makes this susceptible to manipulation. But we've been seeing a ton of manipulation in this stock regardless. But anyways, if you combine these two, the 8 and 850 strikes, you're basically looking at about 30,000, outweighing about 10,000. So that's about 20,000 there at the $8, 850. The 9, not as significant, between 9 and 950. You really, there's not a lot going on there. As we get to 10, we see 16,000. Next big number is 12. And then at 15. But really, I think to see like a gamma squeeze type thing, we need to see more strikes getting filled up and bought up, and we want to see like thousands of contracts, in the tens of thousands, like we see here at 22. But we want to see it filling in all these gaps to get all the way through. And that's not there yet. If we look at the entire option chain on Clove, let me refresh this too, just to make sure we're getting the right numbers. We've been seeing nothing but bullish option activity. Like I said here, there's 31,000 there, outweighing 14,000. So that's pretty significant. But you could see like throughout the entire chain, the 9, the 10, the 11, there's a lot of open interest, but then it starts to fall off until we get to 15. So we kind of need to fill these gaps here in order to make this like have that gamma squeeze potential. But everything's going to help, right? So as the stock continues to go higher and cross these strikes, that is going to provide some fuel with delta hedging, just not like we saw in June, at least not yet. Okay. But we've seen with this stock month after month, there are whales that come in and start buying up these strike prices when the stock looks like it has an opportunity to move. So I don't imagine anything's going to be different. We might see it heading into the November earnings. Oh yeah, Michael. Michael says we dodged a bullet on that New England Patriots pick. Man, that was one I was stressing. I'm still. I don't know. You know what? I'll pull it back up because I don't know if you were here when I had it up there. But uh, this is who's still alive. Okay, so everybody up here from Coach B and Spectrum, Papa Clove, Shrimply. That's Dan, I believe. You're not a golfer and very disturbed. We still haven't even used a mulligan yet. Then we come down a little bit more. This is everybody else who's still alive. I think from AR, MJ fans, Ego, JSOB, Narwhal, Scotty. So we still got, and then we get down to here. Holiday option just got eliminated. That was it. So everybody else down here has already been out. But yeah, that Patriots pick. So I'd imagine that's you then, right, Michael, with the Patriots? But yeah, we definitely dodged a bullet in there. That was one that I was I don't know. Even looking back on it, I don't know why I thought I was so high on the Patriots this week. There were so many other games when you go back and look at it later, like, man, I could have took this one instead or whatever. But we escaped. We lived to fight another day or another week. Adnan says, "Yo, what's up? Thoughts on DM?" I don't know anything about DM at all. It's another one that's trading right down near the bottom. Yeah, I don't know anything about this stock. Man, it looks like it's at an all-time low. Desktop Metal faces near-term risk despite unique and compelling products. Just got a recent rating of market perform. Yeah, I don't know anything about this one. Is it let me see. Check out the option chain on it as well. IV's pretty low too. Yeah. Not sure. I mean, it's sitting down here at an all-time low, which if we go to, let's look at the weekly view and see as well. Yeah, this is like really the lowest it's ever been. So I don't know enough about the stock like fundamentally, but if you're into the fundamentals of it, and you think that it's a good buy right now, sitting at its lowest point ever, you can't go wrong there. It looks like there's only I mean, obviously it can go down to zero. Any stock can, but again, it just depends. Fundamentally, is that something that you're looking at for a specific reason, or Turks, what's up? Says 77 people in the chat. Hit the like button. Okay, yeah. So that is Michael. Air MJ fans, got it. Adnan says did some DD. Yeah, can you send it to me? I'll check it out for sure. If you got maybe shoot me an email or hit me up on Twitter. Either one. My inbox is always open. Coach B Stocks at Gmail. Or on Twitter, you can always DM me on there. I'm also at Coach B Stocks, so I'll check it out for sure. Anytime you see it play like that, like sitting down there at its all-time low, again, obviously it can go down, but if you have reason to believe that it's gonna reverse, and now there's so much more room to grow upwards, right? If you can kind of find that bottom or as close to the bottom as possible. Thomas O'Connell, what's up? Good morning. What's going on? So we're looking at, what are we at right now? 6:08. We still got about 22 minutes before market open. Have been kind of taking a look here at these. Looks like Ptgx is trading kind of sideways right now. FLXN and EZFL is still, looks like it's kind of heading downwards now. So these are the three that I'm going to be watching today. And it looks like oh, there we go right now. Hold on one second. So we do it's Monday. We got a guest coming in today. Let me see here. Let me get this set up real quick. And there we go. I just want to make sure I have my computer set up. All right, let's see. Big C says, "Morning all, looking for a good day today." Yeah, I would imagine we'll see some nice price action with Clove. We are seeing 435,000 in volume today, already in pre-market, which that's not bad compared to what where we've been in recent days. So let's see. Bud123 says DM announced last earning that they were going to acquire X1, which has about the same revenue as DM, so they're going to double revenue with the acquisition. Okay. Yeah, I'd love to send me that or send me a link to that DD or whatever. I'd love to read up on it for sure. Hey, whenever you're ready, give me a thumbs up and I'll okay. All right, so we got, let me see if I can figure this out. So I got the second guest right there. And there we go. So we got Ghost on this morning.
What's good, Coach?
What's going on? Good morning. So I was just talking about how we're gonna do the oh, do I have am I echoing right now? There we go. I was just talking about how we're doing the NFL show a little while ago, and then I looked down at my phone and saw you. Man, I'm tired this morning. I was I don't know. I went to bed kind of early, but just kind of dragging a little bit. So anyways, what's up, man? How was your weekend?
Weekend was cool, man. Steelers won, Bengals lost, Browns lost, Ravens play tonight. I feel like we caught up a little bit there. You know what I'm saying? I feel good, man. How was your weekend?
Good. I was just saying that yesterday was like the first Sunday that I actually got to watch football all day. Like, normally I've been doing flag football and it's like 5 hours between. So I get in, we usually like, let's say one kid plays at 10. But we got to get out there. Or no, really the games have been starting at 11. So we got to get out there at like 9:45 for practice, which is when the early games are just getting ready to start. That game ends at 12. And then my older son, his practice will start at 12:15. His game will start at 1:15. So we're getting home at like 2:30. I've been missing all the NFL games.
Yeah.
But yesterday we had no flag football, so it was pretty cool.
Hey, every time you were texting, man, I got this going on and that going on. I was like, damn, I had the advantage in the no financial limits. If you got to watch all football this Sunday, I'm gonna be in some trouble, coach.
Where
Because
we
right now I
at? I
got that
didn't
league
even
in front of
look
me.
at the picks. Did we? I wasn't on Twitter at all yesterday. Really? Did
We were 8-2 in the first half of the games. I think you ended up dropping a 4-4 from 4-2 from that last night's game. You had the Chiefs.
Got you.
With that
Yeah.
delay, man, that was very crucial, bro. That was the longest delay halftime I ever seen. Weather was
Yeah.
shit.
That was crazy. We ended up, it was like we were all sitting because I was watching the Niner game at a friend's house, and then we came home for the Sunday night game and barbecuing, and I had some friends over, and we were watching the game, and that thing just kind of killed it, right? It's like all of a sudden this super long delay, and then a couple people ended up going home, like, oh, I'll catch the second half at home, and then I ended up doing the same thing, just went and like watched the rest of the game from bed, and
Dude, I
um,
thought I switched the channel. I was like, yo, what the fuck? Who hit the remote? Come on, guys. Like, I was getting mad at the kids. I look around. I'm like, yo, what's going on? Is this long of a delay? Like, for real? That was a long delay, dude.
man,
On
the one
Sunday
thing
night.
with my with my picks, it's like I don't know why I don't go with my original gut feeling on a lot of these. Like I talked earlier, the Bills are one of the teams that I picked to like potentially make it to the Super Bowl. Definitely be in like that AFC Championship game, and I still feel that way about them. But then when I look at the spreads and I'm looking at the two teams, and I didn't even expect the Chiefs. I didn't even pick them to win the West. And so I'm looking at these two teams matched up, and then I pick the Chiefs like an idiot, and it's like everything else that I've talked about in regards to like NFL and these two teams tells me that I should have took the Bills and the points, and then they end up winning outright. It's just and I've been doing that with a lot of these plays.
Yeah,
Um,
man. It's a whole different story when it's the spread, I feel like. It really does make you lean one way or the other. You're like, oh, okay, they're at home, Chiefs at home. Bills, they went on a nice little tear after losing to the Steelers, but to me, I like the pick. I like the pick a lot. What's up, JJ? What's up, DJ Tardis, KLF, Kenneth, Austin, my boy Turt's out there. What's up, Jimmy? Man, I'm feeling good today. I don't know about you, Coach, but I'm feeling like this price action is going to be real nice and steady. Kind of like the way when the news broke. It was just stair stepping.
yeah, I mean, right now we're still, even though this looks like we're down, we're still up from Friday, right? So we closed Friday at 785, and right now we're trading right around 793. Um, and yeah, I mean, Friday's price action was nice because it wasn't like a big pop and a sell off. I mean, it was kind of like you said, just stair stepping up,
Hmm.
down to a higher low, up, down to a higher low, and it just kind of like kept working its way up until the end of the day. But yeah, I think I didn't even look where Max Payne is this week. Let me
I
take a
didn't
look
either.
real quick.
I didn't either. I feel like it's going to change just based upon circumstances.
So Max Payne's at 8. Which is we're gonna be where they want to pin it to. But the other thing that I was just talking about, and I kind of brought up last week too, is like with IV being so low or lower, I feel like there's less
Reason
incentive
to
to
panic.
manipulate it, right? Like if you're a market maker, um, do you want to waste your time manipulating this stock that's got 129% IV, or do you want to go focus on the ones that are at 300% IV or 200% IV? Because that's where the premiums
Right.
are going to cost more. So who
There
knows?
comes
I
a
mean,
point. There comes a point when it's just not economical. You know what I mean? I mean, seriously, it comes to a point where it's like you're doing all of this for this. It doesn't add up. Makes no sense. So I feel like it really is to the point where, we could genuinely see a reversal at this point. I really genuinely feel that way.
yeah. And that 3.5 star rating, that was just like the first little mini catalyst, and there's going to be so many other ones that come along with it. I think MCR improving is going to be another big one. We might see that in the next in its quarter 3 earnings, coming up in November. And then anything else on the tech side, there's so much stuff that could help this stock and be these little mini catalysts that keep it pushing forward. And then invite in some price target adjustments from analysts, right?
Exactly.
I just
I
put
think
this one up there.
MCR. That's a rough one. I read that. Oof.
18 parlay with one loss. That's crazy. Um,
Against the Bears too. You would have never thought that had been a loss.
no, to me that was one of the more solid picks. I mean, the way the Raiders have been playing, and yeah, they just lost to the Chargers,
It
but
makes you wonder they had that scandal with Coach Gruden.
what was
I don't
that?
know about all that, man. Coach Gruden, for the Raiders coach, Gruden, Chucky. He had this email apparently exposed where he said someone's lips look like Michelin tires, and now they're trying to bring it up as racism. And I don't know too much about it. I just heard a couple people in my family member texting me about it because I'm in LA, so there are Oakland Raider fans here from previously before they moved to Vegas. So a lot of my buddies were texting me and family texting me and were hot like, dude, this is bullshit. Coach Gruden's not racist. Come on. And I'm just like, what's happening? So that's a huge distraction, I think, at this point in time for them.
Yeah, I actually did hear about that. Now that you bring it up, my uncle was telling me about it last night. And it was a long time ago though, right?
Like 10 years ago.
Yeah, it was like
The email was from 10 years ago.
and I
He
think
wasn't
he
on the
said
Raiders at the time.
they
Nothing.
his response was something along the lines of, basically like, almost like someone was flapping their lips or bumping their gums, or kind of more like a not nothing racist, but when people like slang type of thing for like basically someone running their mouth. You know
Right.
what I mean? Is
Yeah.
basically is what his response was, but I have no idea. I don't know. I didn't look into it. I just briefly heard about it yesterday, and yeah, you're right. That could be a huge distraction.
I mean, what else explains them from going like that to that? Like, I mean, from sugar to shit, like right off top. Like, that was crazy. The Bears?
Yeah, yeah. I'm not a big. I don't think the Bears are very good. I mean, and the way the Raiders were playing, I mean, now they were sitting at 3-0, looking to go 4-0, and now they're sitting at 3-2. I think they're still a great team. And then I don't know how long is Jacobs out.
I think he's coming back. He's been week to week. So I think he's coming back next week. He's got to be.
Or no, he played. He
Matter of
played
fact, he
yesterday.
played.
Yeah, he
Yeah, I was
played.
just
He
about to
played.
say,
He
matter
got
of fact,
15 carries. I was gonna say I didn't watch the game yesterday, but I just looked. So he did play yesterday. 15 carries, 48 yards, one touchdown. So not bad. It's kind of a low average per carry, but he scored. Um,
you know who is getting rookie of the year? One of your early predictions. Najee Harris is a beast, bro. Whoo! My
yeah, how did
man's
he do yesterday?
he did good, man. He got over 100 yards, had a touchdown. It's just his receiving ability and the way I told you this offensive line needs continuity, man. And just seeing him, dude, he's fallen forward like 2 to 4 yards, man. It's gonna be something else. And with his rushing ability, he's starting to get that swag, that confidence. Like I got this. Big difference in the NFL, but he's starting to feel it. I can see it, man. And
And he
he's
scored his
at
first touchdown yesterday, right? Or last week, right?
his first rushing touchdown. He had a receiving touchdown the week prior. So he's
Okay,
gotten basically three weeks in a row he's scoring.
nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I still think he's probably the front runner for rookie of the year right now, at least on the offensive side. I mean, but Fields, I mean, who knows, right? If Fields all of a sudden keeps this up with the Bears, that's probably another one that, I mean, it looks like I'm looking at the stat line right now. Fields went 12 for 20, threw a touchdown. But I mean, if he ends up being the starting QB from here on out, and the Bears start winning some games, I could see Fields maybe challenging for that spot too. He's definitely in a
I
better
mean,
position than some of the other rookie quarterbacks right now.
your boys on the Niners too, man. Lance. I mean, with that logic, he could be in the running too. I know you guys lost last week or yesterday, but
Yeah, I guess so. If he ends up staying to be the starter, which honestly, if I was if I was the Niners right now, I mean Jimmy G is who he is, right? I mean, I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback. He took us to a Super Bowl, but he's very limited in his upside, right? And now he's showing that he's injury prone too, and it's like your offense is so much different with a guy like Trey Lance in there. So why not keep Trey Lance in and start working on your offense moving forward, and start building around him and see what you can do with this guy, and then shit, you could probably turn around and trade Jimmy G to and get some value for him too.
No,
I
that's
don't know.
real. No, that's real. I'm kind of like that right now with my tight end situation. I'm like, just trade Ebron, get a nice, defender, get him maybe an O line real quick for him, someone on the O line, because this guy Fryermuth, I mean, he's a monster. They call him Baby Gronk for a reason. Broke all of Penn State's records in the tight end category, and the dude's just solid, man. I mean, he's got hands, so and he could block. So why you need Ebron? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's can't catch. He's not a good blocker. It's, I hate to say it because I like the kid, but man, I don't know, man.
All right, so we're looking.
Sheeb is moving today.
Yeah, I never got
Sheeb has
in on
been,
Sheeb, man.
been
What somebody sent me a screenshot over the weekend that was like insane. Like if you would have invested in Sheeb, I think like 2 years ago, um, $1,000 it'd be worth. Hold on, let me see if I can pull that up real quick because that was insane. It was like if you invested in Sheeb, I think. Let me see if I
I don't
can.
even think it would have been 2 years ago. It would have probably been like 8 months ago. What's up, Michael D? Boom.
Here we go.
Boo.
So $1,000 on August 1st, 2020. Okay, it would have ended up by December 31st. So what is that? 3 months later, it would have only been worth $1.96. So your $1,000 would have been like, damn, I just lost everything. It went from 1,000 to $1.96. But then the very next month, that was worth 19 grand. So we're talking January 31st, 2021. By March 31st, we're 98,000. And then it just gets insane from there. April 30th, 3.7 million. May 31st, 17.2 million. And then today it would be worth like 55 million. All off $1,000 that you invested back on August 1st, 2020. Now I haven't checked these numbers. Um,
Wow.
that's insane though. A Turch just
That,
said a year ago $1,000 would be 200 million today. Yeah, that's oh yeah, because I mean shit. If you think about it that way, at that point when it dropped down to $1.96, based off this chart I'm looking at, if you jumped in right then, yeah, you'd probably be sitting on 200 million right now. That's crazy.
hey, honestly though, this is why I jumped into Sheeb in the first place and Doge even back in the day. I jumped into Sheeb. I think it was May maybe at the latest. I think the last time I put money into Sheeb was in May. And yeah, Safe Moon too. Safe Moon, man, I gotta talk to this dude Jerry. Is Jerry Safe Moon on here right now?
Big
Man,
Nate. I know Big Nate's in Safe Moon. I actually own Safe Moon too. I know I've told you that. Just a friend turned me on to it. A couple friends have been telling me about it, and so finally I bought some, and I actually own quite a bit, and then it goes up. So the way Safe Moon works is like every as other people sell, they do something where they take, let's say you own it and you want to get out, so you sell, you get like 20% or some percentage of your coins end up getting burned, and then the other half gets distributed amongst all other Safe Moon holders. So like you'll just pull it up one day and all of a sudden you got like 2 million more Safe Moon coins than you had the last time you checked. They just keep like adding in and trickling in. So it's pretty cool concept. I like it. I mean, I'm just holding on to it, and it's in like the earlier stages, kind of like, hopefully one day we'll be looking back and like, 2 years from now, like if you invested $1,000 in Safe Moon, and I'll be sitting there with you know, 500 million coins or something like that, and who
got your
knows?
throne and shit.
Yeah.
Sitting on
So
a
yeah,
gold
so I
throne.
got I got I got quite a bit of Safe Moon right now that shit, I don't even know how to sell it if all of a sudden it took off. I don't even know how to get out of it. I just bought it because a couple of my friends, they showed me how to get it. I don't even know how to get rid of it if I wanted to. So I'm a long-term holder, not by choice.
They got it by design on you, huh? Man, oh man. I'm telling you, dude, some of these little coins, man, they're just fun to me. You know, you think of it like a parlay, or you think of it like a crazy ass lotto ticket. That's to me kind of what some of these are. You know, Safe Moon, I actually do like 5% gets burned, 3% goes back to the other holders as reflections. It's crazy cheap right now. I need to get some. Yeah, like I think it's a good concept. I remember when Dave Portnoy was pushing it before it first came out. He had this crazy announcement and boom, he drops the announcement and it was Safe Moon. It was like this new coin coming out. And the way he broke it down was just like that, you know? It's like hold on for dear life, hodl in a nutshell for coins, for digital currency, and why it was so cool, the concept. And I was like, man, I'm not gonna lie, this is dope. And then I went to buy it that day. And bro, it was so complicated. I don't like complication because it's the same way you said. I don't even know how I'm gonna sell this. I
Yeah.
couldn't find what platform I needed to grab what wallet to transfer what I need. It was just like, fuck this, man. I'm good. But now when it becomes more eligible, I know they just got the app on iPhones. I just downloaded the app on Thursday or Friday. I was talking to Jerry, and you know, I'm trying to get to the point where I can get some of these things because at the end of the day, by the time it is easily accessible, you see what happens with Sheep. Sheep gets added to this platform, and you know it goes up 50% or 120%. I think it's more than doubled up in the last week
Yeah.
because of that. You know what I mean?
That's like that is kind of like you're talking about with all the different wallets and stuff. Because the other one that I'm into right now, because I have friends that are more into this stuff, that told me is XRP, and that was
Mm-hmm.
another one where you needed like a specific wallet to get it, right? So now I have like 4 or 5 different crypto wallets. Coinbase is the one that I've always used since years ago to buy Bitcoin, and so I always have had Coinbase, and I'll probably always continue to use Coinbase. But now I got like a Trust wallet. I got a wallet called Uphold. I got like 3 other wallets because all these other ones, when you get into them, when they're not that accessible, you have to go a specific route. So, um,
Mm-hmm.
and
One of my boys was telling me about farming back in the day, and he's like, "Man, we gotta farm this shit, dude." I'm like, "We gotta farm it." He's like, "Yeah, like literally, like farming. Like, what does that mean, man?" He's, "Trust me, just get some pancake and then get some BNB, and then you're gonna basically put the BNB and the pancake together, and then you're gonna get a higher percentage, and then as it goes up, you get a higher percentage, and it's like a rollover percentage." And I was just like, "Just tell me what I'm doing here, bro.
yeah,
This is it's too much, man." So
that's
I
how I
bought
had to buy
pancake,
my
I bought
safe moon, was through
BNB.
a pancake swap or something like that. I didn't even know what I was doing. That's why I said I don't even know how to get out of it if I have to. When I bought my safe moon, I had to do something where you buy it, you get it, and then you swap it into something else, and it had to do with like a different type of coin. And I was just like, here, just do it for me, And I had someone else take care of it. Um,
Right. It sounds like it's a joke. It really does. Like you got to use some pancake swap to grab. Like it really sounds like comical. Like this is not real. And this is the way money is on this digital currency shit, man. I think we're gonna run pretty quick, man. Price action looks pretty wild.
yeah. So we just hit the opening bell. Um,
Already a mill.
Yeah, volume right now is right around 970,000. I'm showing.
Yeah, it's about to break a mill already, and 8 at the same time.
Hey, so did you Skip had asked, and we were talking about the other stuff, but did you watch the Alabama game
You know
on
what? I
Saturday
didn't
night?
see them get upset, bro. I didn't see it.
I know the fight was going on too, and I didn't I had the Giants game on. That was I don't really want to talk about the Giants game right now. But they did win on Friday night, so they're 1-1 in the series. So whatever. But anyways, yeah, I know. Uh, but I had the Giants game on one TV, and then I had the Alabama game on the other TV because you could just tell. I mean, it was so crazy, and the stadium over there was rocking, and I mean, they did a really good job, man.
I was
Alabama
surprised.
looked like they were coming back, and they kept scoring with them. Their defense was playing good. You could just tell. Like I remember telling the other people that were at my house watching the game, like Alabama's getting upset right now. Like Texas A&M is going to pull this off, and because they just got out to an early lead, it was like 17-7, and then they just held them off throughout the whole game, like 24-10 at halftime. And I mean, we've seen games. Shit, even the Buccaneers were down to the Dolphins yesterday, and they ended up coming back and rolling. So you've seen it, but where these better teams can come back and turn it into a lopsided blowout. But I don't know, man. Just watching that game, Texas A&M looked like they came ready to play, and that was a wild one for sure.
I think Texas A&M showed out, man. I'm not gonna lie. I saw some of the highlights, but man, did you see the fight? Hey,
No, I didn't. So my intention was to like order the fight, and I had some people over. But then, like I said, we were all watching the Giants game, and then we started watching Alabama, and then it got to the point to where it was like the fight had already started, and it's like, well, shit, I'm not gonna order it now. I'll just watch the review. And then I end up hearing from everybody it was like the best damn fight ever, you know, or at least the best in
honestly,
a long time.
honestly, man, when Wilder first went down, you're like, oh yeah, that's it. First of all, you look at Tyson, bro, and this guy is like sloppy jalopy. Like you're like, this guy's been boxing since he's 10 years old, and you still look like this. Like what the fuck? But the way this dude is just using his weight to his advantage and leaning in, so Furry can't really or Wilder can't really give him that right, And the way he just kept using his weight, the first time Wilder went down, I was like, oh yeah, man. I know he got back up before, so we'll see. Legs looked a little loose. Sure enough, dude, tagged him, dropped him, and it was just like five knockdowns, bro. It was just like the heavyweight of heavyweight using weight. Ref did a good job, bro. Slapped them, separated them every time they were hugging. A couple headlocks here and there, break them up, and just let them go to war, bro. And to see that shit go 11 rounds was just like, yo, these dudes. First of all, Tyson, this guy's got the craziest jaw of life, man. He's taking hits and just barely getting stunned. Like even when he dropped, like he dropped hard, but he got back up and like barely had a blemish on him until finally his eyes started lumping up towards like the 10th or 11th round. But man, it really was like top 20 fights for real. I was like top 5, and then I was like, nah, it was probably like top 20, man. There's been some great fights back in my day. But whoa, bro, like they surprised me. With Wilder losing, I'm like, bro, this guy still showed out. Like showed heart, showed grit, showed perseverance. Like he really didn't care what he felt at the time. He just kept getting up and kept going head to head with this monster. This guy's like a real life Shrek, a real life ogre, bro. He took every hit, man. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it, bro.
Yeah, I'm gonna definitely. That's another one I'm gonna check out today. I want to watch the highlights to that Raider game, and then I definitely want to check out the highlights to that fight because, I mean, growing up, like you had Mike Tyson, Evander Holyfield. We had like all these great heavyweights. That there's so many of them. I mean, and there was so many great fights, and then it seems like boxing kind of lost that heavyweight. Where they don't really have that anymore. And that's why I always every time, like even the last two fights, between Fury and Wilder, I made sure and ordered them, and I've been watching because there's not too many great heavyweights anymore. And the last fight was pretty good. So yeah, I don't know, man. It just got to the point where it was like, I'm not gonna order this now. It was already kind of late in the night and everything, and
You know,
we didn't
you get
watch any of the
excited.
prelims.
You get excited, and then you're kind of let down most of the time with the
Yeah,
heavyweights lately. So I was kind of in the same boat, like, all right, man, let's see what these dudes got. And then just like, I was like seriously standing up. I was like, oh God, give it to him. Like, it was like the whole fight was just like, bro, they were swinging like they had everything to lose. It was amazing, bro. That was like for sure top 20 of all time that at least I've seen with the naked eye live. I don't know
okay.
about some of these other Muhammad Ali fights that I got to watch footage, but it was cool, man. It was cool, man. Definitely worth watching. DJ Tartar says the proper brawl. Like that was like literally, you look at this guy Tyson and he literally is like barroom boxing. He's like the epitome of like a barroom boxing. Like he just doesn't look like he's that much of a fighter, but his techniques and the way he knows how to get close enough for you where you can't give it the full, 1-2, the way he uses his weight to his advantage, like it was very, I boxed for 3 years from like at a younger age, but like I took it serious. And so I know all the tech, not know, but I'm pretty accustomed to the techniques and the way you can counter and what's open on what's open. And the one thing that I will say was Wilder, he wasn't holding the phone. you got to keep this hand up. And he was just, it was like his shoulders were so fucking heavy that to hold him up, coach, was like damn near impossible. So he just kept lowering that shoulder. It was just enough to leave this whole side open. He was just taking him. He was trying to move. He was taking him. And he got wore out from that, man. Knees buckling, the whole 9 yards.
Hey, real quick, Thomas just asked about Ortex on Clove, so I just started the day at 16%. Cost to borrow $1.50, utilization 83. Nothing much changed so far this morning, at least being reported so far. So I just wanted to throw that out there real quick. Hey, so when did you start boxing? Like at what age?
I was probably like 14 to 17.
Okay,
So
my youngest son, he's 8 right now, and I got him for the longest time. He didn't want to do any sports. We tried to get the older one did soccer, baseball, football, basketball, and it was like we kept trying the younger one and everything, and he didn't really like it. And then he said he wanted to do UFC, and I'm like, nah, you're not fighting nobody, this and that. But there's this gym, and so I took him to the gym, the boxing gym, and they did like a kids class, and we were just like, we were just gonna go there and train, not actually box, right? So he was like 6. This was before COVID, and he ended up getting really good at it, just doing the training and stuff. And they have like where other kids there twice a week would do sparring, but I was just had him going 4 times a week, and on the sparring days he'd still do the training. And then we ended up letting him spar, even though I kind of didn't want to. The coach was like, nah, he's ready, like let him do it, it'll help him get better and stuff and shit. He sparred like maybe I think about 7 or 8 times, and he was doing pretty damn good. I got some,
wow.
it was fun, man. He was going up against other kids that were like his age, like 7-year-olds. One time he fought an 8-year-old.
This is your youngest?
Yeah, and he
he got tired of his older brothers fucking him up. He's like, I'm ready to go.
But he did really good, and then
Wow.
COVID hit, and then the gym shut down, and then it was like they stopped doing the sparring and stuff, and actually now he doesn't do boxing anymore. Like now he's all into football, he's into basketball, like kind of like his older brother, and he's back into those sports that he always said he didn't want to play. But at some point I'm sure he'll want to get back into boxing. But I always thought that was too young, but there was a lot of kids out there doing it. And
Hey, the younger you start these kids, man, the more it becomes almost natural for them. I know. So my godfather, his name's Jimmy Z. He used to box semi-pro, and I like we watched boxing fights. I remember being at his house when Mike Tyson bit Holyfield's ear, and I was the first one to see it at a young age. I'm like, yo, he bit his ear. They're like, what are you talking about? He bit his ear. He spit it out. I seen it, and they're like, what? And sure enough, things were unfolding. But I loved boxing at such a young age that he was like, man, come in here. So I used to ride my bike to his home, and he had like the big body bag, he had the speed bag, he had all the techniques of how to train. And so for the first like I don't know 2 years or so, I didn't spar nothing. I just literally worked out like I was a boxer. And he'd go 3-minute rounds, and we'd go through the whole section of like try to get to 12 rounds if we could. When I first started, I was like getting 4 or 5 rounds in, but by the end of it, I was getting into the 10 round range. And he's like, you're ready. So at that point, it was like, all right, let's take this serious. And dude, I was nasty, bro. Like, I'm not even trying to like toot my own horn here, but dude, I was pretty untouchable. I'm not gonna lie. If my mom wasn't so like against me bruising and scuffing up my face, I would have taken it like super duper serious. Because man, in street fights, I swear to you, I've never lost. You know what I mean? So it's like in the ring, it's a little different. It's a lot more technique. And I think the reason why I never lost a street fight is because, truth be told, I knew technique. Like I knew when if you're hooking, what's open depending on how high your elbow is. I knew when you're dropping your left hand that I can maybe bait you just enough to drop it more, where I can come over the top. And like for me, it was like, it's scary, man. When I look at some of the fights I was in, dude, it's like, it's those movies where it's like almost it moves slower and you kind of can see what's gonna possibly unfold. You know what it's like, coach, man. We
yeah,
talked about it offline, right? It's almost moves slower, where you're like, all
yep,
right, I'm about to do. It was like that for me my whole life. Even in the ring, it's just like, it was so much fun to get aggression out, and for for young individuals, I think it's a great thing to do to like kind of like give you that confidence
That's what I
that
was gonna say. It
you know how to
builds
defend
up that
yourself and most
confidence and stuff too. That definitely. I'm just looking around while you're talking. I seen ATER starting to pop a little bit, up 4%, and the other one that looked like it was kind of rolling too was shit. PROG is too. Damn, PROG's up 10%.
I keep hearing this 808's a big deal. I mean, is there like is this one of our historical, you know, pops on Clove or 808? I don't understand. Everyone keeps saying 808. 808's a
Yeah,
big
I think it's kind of served as like, from what I can recall, it's been some resistance, in the past where we've kind of like, we've ended some days there. We've ran into some. I think I don't know. I mean, we we've been watching the stock for so long. You know what I mean? It just kind of. Um, I have no
You think
idea.
about most of your investments, you just kind of set it and forget it when it's an investment. And
Yeah.
although this has been an investment because of how much involvement I guess we have, it's like you can't help but to look at the chart more times per day than any other stock you've ever looked at in the history of looking at. Like I swear to God, I didn't look at Tesla's chart when it was running. I didn't look at DraftKings chart when it was running, but for whatever reason, Clove, you're like tuned in and really trying to see what
Well, it's
it's,
just
you know,
it's so manipulated right now that it kind of, you know what I mean? Um, that I think that's why. Well, plus, like for me, it was a swing trade, not an investment, right? And so, it was, and all, well, most of mine are like most of these plays that I get into, like even like with DraftKings, it was a swing trade for me. Not necessarily. Now I'm still looking to get back in DraftKings, but with any play, any of these plays, I mean, I have another account where I do like long term investments and just kind of build up, but I don't. I keep that in a separate brokerage account because I get because I do tend to, like with these swing trades, I look at them all the time, and then I want to sell, and I want to, and if there's something that I really want to hold like long term, I'll just accumulate it over there and not even look back at it, like what you're saying. You know what I
right.
mean?
I
Absolutely.
mean, let's face it, Clove started off for sure for a lot of people, swing trades or a possible squeeze play. Like I remember when I had IPOC and it became Clove, not the ticker switch, but I found out it was going to become Clove. I was like, this is trash. Clove, Medicare Advantage. Oh my God. And I sold after its first dip on like buy the rumor, sell the news. And coming back into it when it got beat up, and what's funny is on the way up to its crazy run those 3 days, I was actually day trading it. You know what I mean? Like realistically speaking, I was ready to make some moves on it on the way up, and it turned into, hey man, this is a great company. Hey man, this is a great investment. Like I would be so surprised if we're looking back come May of next year that this is anything less than like, I don't even want to put numbers out there, but man, I realistically feel like there's no way it's not going to be above its all-time high come May of next year. Whatever that all-time high is. I know 28.85 was intraday. I genuinely feel like after volatility, after maybe a spike and a drop and all this extra nonsense, I feel like it'll be trading above that come May.
Yeah.
Depending on what they do, obviously. Open enrollment's a big deal for us. Having a lot more counties, getting a lot more people to invest because of the star rating being higher now. As far as getting a lot of people to buy your plan because you have a higher star rating, as far as just a lot of changes for the better have came on. So I'm curious to see.
Well, that's the other thing too. Like even like with this with open enrollment, right? I don't know that we'll necessarily for this or I don't, we probably won't at all hear anything about open enrollment in the November earnings call, but we may hear some guidance. Like they may be able to say, because I mean, they'll still open enrollment will still be going on, right? It's like from October 15th through the end of the year.
Right.
But even just hearing from them, like, hey, in the first couple weeks of open enrollment in these new counties, we're already starting to see numbers, anything like that in terms of guidance, like where they feel like they're going to be, for the quarter four, any of that stuff can be huge and potential catalysts, moving forward.
I think
Um,
depending on where their price per share is and depending on the buzz that they have at the time, I think they would mention that. I think if it's like trading where they feel it should be closer to trading to, I think they might even still hold it back like that, under promise, over deliver, because I still can't really wrap on this. Like May 17th, they went over their first quarter earnings, and then August 10th, I think it was, they went over their second quarter earnings, and it's like in May, you had half of the second quarter already taken into account, right? And they didn't talk about anything related to their DCE. And to see that it doubled their lives under management just 6 weeks later, I'm like, all right, man, either they had a crazy second half of that second quarter or they were under promising and over delivering. And I hope it's kind of I hope it's not them under promising and over delivering. I hope it's genuinely they just had a crazy last 6 weeks of that second quarter of DCE. Because if you add into the additional counties and you add to a higher star rating than their DCE, I mean, man, it's think about it. DCE happened in the second quarter. You don't need necessarily open enrollment for this.
Yeah.
Which this is one thing I got a question for you for. Open enrollment's huge because you have all of these individuals that can switch, that became eligible, that could, the whole 9 yards. But DCE, direct contact, is this year round.
Yeah. Yeah, I believe so. I that's the way I understand it too. So that's one
Like, how
where
else did they get 77,000 in the second quarter, right? Lives under management. That's clearly open enrollment year round for the DCE.
that's my understanding. That's kind of what I see it as too. Like, and really the DCE is the one where they're going to be the most profitable in too. Like, right? Because your Medicare is capped at a certain percentage of what you can make. The DCE, they could, there's no limits to what they could end up, making. There's no cap on that side of it. So, no, absolutely. And I think that can happen
So
at any time.
from
There is no,
zero first quarter, because they weren't eligible in a sense to start this. They just got approved in the first quarter, but they could only start, I think, in the second quarter at some point. And then the second quarter, they load up 77,000 lives under management, which was more than they had from their whole existence at this point. And then it makes you wonder, like, no one's really talking about this growth from the lives under management on the DCE part anymore, because it kind of starting to fall back in the back burner. But like, I'm not expecting nothing crazy for the third quarter for their DCE, but the fact that they did double their counties, a lot of people are like, yeah, but the population's low and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, I don't really care about this. To be honest with you, it's very simple. If there's a specific county that has a low amount of population, it doesn't mean that you don't have a savvy marketing team like Palantir and like Uber Eats that can actually figure out which counties to work with that they're eligible and pump the hardest and tell me that they can't load up another 50,000 lives under management. It doesn't matter. There's, they didn't get 77,000 in DC. They didn't get every live under management in every county out there. No, they got some lives in some counties out there. So to me, it's just like, they could potentially bring in a lot of DCE in the third quarter. And I think if they announce something crazy, like, I don't know, even 25 to 30,000 more would be pretty nuts. That'd put them over what, 200,000 lives under management.
yeah, yeah. Sorry, I got distracted. I just
No,
jumped in on PROG right now. When it broke right here above 150. So Prog's an interesting one, man. Let me just hold on. I gotta set my. I'm just gonna put a stop loss on this so I don't get burned while we're.
I played PROG last week.
Prog is like really intriguing right now because if you look at the short side of this, like it was running and it looked like it was ready to explode. I think it was last week or the week before, and then they did a direct offering. Where they had to raise like 13 million, and that's when it kind of got that one day where all of a sudden like the momentum just got halted. But if you look at this, 53% of the estimated short interest is extremely high. Cost to borrow is 58%. That's pretty high. I mean, really, you want to see something closer to like 100, but utilization's 99. So it's got all these numbers that you would want to see, in a short squeeze play. On top of that, max pain right now is at $1 and it's above that. So it already broke through max pain. Then you look at the float size is only like 100 and I think it's like 130 million. So looking at the option chain on it, it's like, this open interest here is insane. It definitely has like a buildup in here to probably push this thing to 3. you start mixing in FOMO, and if it, is able to get to 5, there might be enough here to like push this through the entire chain, which, I mean, shit, that's like 7 times what it's trade. You know what I mean? If to
Right.
go from $1.50 right now to get up to, $10.
Right.
So this one's, one that I've been eyeballing, and when I saw it starting to take off this morning, who knows? It just broke 150. That's when I jumped in. I'm gonna see. I got a really loose stop loss on this. Like I would rather take a little bit of a loss and hold this to see if it explodes higher. You know what I mean? Than like my normal type of stop loss. But I just threw one on just to
You want to
see.
hear you want to hear something crazy, man? So I read this book you suggested, right? And I never had terminology down pat. I've only learned from like just personal experience and just kind of going through my own knowledge or whatever and my own experiences. And like something as simple as like an ABCD chart. To me, I never even knew what that was. I called it W's and M's. You know what I mean? When I seen W's turn to M's, I'm like, all right, cool. And just kind of like realizing specific strategies, even. And I swear to you, dude, I've used these strategies. I've never known what the terminology was for them. It just, for me, they always worked out when I used them. And man, the last few weeks or last 2 weeks since I've gotten that book, I'm like really like honed in on a couple things. Built a scanner. Me, I never had a scanner. I never had a scanner and I never had social media. And one of the things in the book was telling you, like, you need sentiment, you need, social media, you need, either a group chat with friends that can also give you some of their scanners. And it's like the more the merrier, the bigger the communities, the better off you're going to be in this game. And just like acknowledging that and like realizing those kind of things, again, me, I've always like scoured and looked for any type of sentiment, whether it was Yahoo Finance when I first started getting into the stock industry, whether it was Reddit on why I even followed GameStop and followed AMC and followed some of these and actually played both of them, played them all. You know what I mean? I've always played these I even played CEI, not even ashamed to admit it, bro. I seen these gurus all over the place. I see CEI pop on my feed enough times. I'm like, what the fuck is CEI? So I played it, got it. I stick and moved. If I show you what I sold out for, I think it was like 425 on some of them. I think I actually shared a screenshot actually with you guys on how many times I played CEI and got out. It's like, man, there's certain things you can make plays on. For me, it's just about sticking and moving when there's a lot of rug pulls. With a stock like PROG, it's such an inexpensive stock to me, and I played it last week a few times on the simple ABCD chart, where it came out up in the pre-market, gapped up, a bullish flag came into play, things like that, dude, where you're just like, oh, this is a good entry point. Hey, it finally started accumulating in this zone. I'm going to grab some now, and then it starts to run up. So when I talk about the 9, the 20 EMA, and the 50 SMA that you kind of taught me, when I
Mm-hmm.
talk about how he looks for the candles that kind of cross certain zones, and then I look into this, these charts, and I'm looking at pictures in the fucking book, and I'm like, dude, I could put this up right now, and this is identical. And now I'm just waiting for this accumulation zone, and I'm jumping in. Buy a few thousand shares real quick if it's cheap. Buy a couple hundred if it's expensive, and just kind of ride it back up to the proper zones. And it's like, man, it can't be this easy. Like, I'm gonna get humbled sooner than later, so I'm trying to like keep that into play. But this guy says it right. You could be wrong 40% of the time if you're on a 2-to-1 profit to loss ratio, and you're getting out when you're supposed to, and you're staying in when you're not. I mean, when you are supposed to. You could really do this for a living. And it's like, damn, bro, like that's crazy to me. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
No, it's
Genuinely crazy.
it takes practice, and it takes I mean, one thing that's always hard is paper trading, right? But that's
I
why I
can't do it.
like this Think or Swim app, because you can actually, I don't want to paper trade during the day either. But like if you're one of those persons who wants to like test something out, you can go in while the market's closed and dial this thing back and try out some of these strategies, on Friday's price action, or on, Mondays, or go back to like when the market tanked in March 2020, and you can go back and like paper trade doing that, and do it at night. That's the only time that I've ever like really sat there and paper traded. Um,
I think it's
so
cool that you can kind of do that, like, oh, this is where I'm buying in, and you can actually buy in on it, and because the chart's already played out and you don't see it, I'm assuming, and then you can watch it kind of play out. Is that how it works?
Yeah. You could dial it back to whatever time you want. You could say, give me January 28th at 6 a.m. and you're in like a different mode on the thing where you can't, like now it's just minute by minute. It's ticking forward as if you were live. So this software it's called On Demand on there on the Thinkorswim app, but you can go in there.
Look
So
at this, for example, though. Look at this. You see this one chart, the simplest ass ABCD,
yeah,
and look at what Clove's doing right now. It's accumulating. It's basically in the B2C range right now, and then eventually starts to reverse. You watch a few candles, starts coming from the C to the D range. It's funny because I was talking to Al back in the not back in the day, but a few weeks ago, and he's like, "Yeah, bro, that's what brought me to the internet. Clove wasn't doing what it was supposed to do as I'm day trading. This is what brought me here." You know what I mean? And it's a trip because it's like all of us were offline. I didn't have social media for 10 years. I don't know how long Al didn't have it for, but he has a fairly new account. I know you in the same boat. I look at DGen, he wasn't on it for a long time. We were all in kind of similar situations where we were all focused on our normal day to day. And Clove kind of brought everyone together. And it's a trip, man, when you look. The stock itself, we all genuinely like. We all love it. We all think it's great for America. I love when I see like people in Canada, people in different countries like Australia, and they're like trying to support the cause because they think that we should have this in America already. And I think it's just such a beautiful thing to see. Like, it's a trip that certain things in life kind of bring you together. And like, I'm a big believer that, man, fuck Clove. Clove is one stock that's like, yeah, I love it, and I think it goes without being said on how much we love it. But just the fact of what this is going to bring to a lot of these people, even in our community, to learn so much knowledge about how to trade here and what to look for and how to be careful and how to diversify and not these YOLO moves and like in time. You know what I mean? Time. I think it's just going to help a lot of traders in this industry, man. And I think retail really is like a force to reckon with. I really do. I really
yeah.
do.
I'm gonna answer this for Sir Horror real quick. So it said like for PROG, for example. So this one I'm playing a little bit different because of all the squeeze factors involved, and I think that there's room for a bigger move. So I got in at 150, and right now I set that once it took off and it bounced up to 170, I set a stop loss at 150. Just a hard stop, so that I'm not gonna lose any money on this trade. And because I was sitting here talking and I'm doing the stream, and I'm not gonna be able to like actually watch the stock and get in, right away. But if I was like, so I got a hard stop at 150, but normally if I was trading this right now, and being that it was like, 150 was my buy-in, typically maybe I'd have it like, usually sometimes I'll play candles. So like, this big candle here, maybe I would have set a stop loss here at the bottom of this candle at 161. Sometimes I'll do a trailing stop, maybe at like a certain percentage point. But I definitely would have been stopped out already if I had my regular stop losses on. But with PROG, like I said, I just set it at 150 right now, just because which is below VWAP too. So at this point, so if I get stopped out, I made nothing on the trade at all. But typically, I would have already locked in profits. I would have probably had a stop loss that would have maybe triggered somewhere around 164, like maybe 5 cents down, and that's probably
Hey,
even
give me
worse.
2 seconds.
Yep.
I'm gonna say bye to the kids real quick.
I'm gonna
Hey, why do my
actually.
kids have school today? Isn't it Columbus Day?
Yeah. So they have. I don't know why they have. Today is Columbus Day, but the kids are off. But I still have school. It's like a.
Hey, you guys.
Let me see. So here's Prague. I'm gonna pull up what Danny did. It said, follow the MACD. And it does look like it is kind of, you could have played this bounce here when a MACD came over, and then as it started to come down. Is that what you're talking about here? The MACD indicator it just went red. Crossed under right here. RSI looked like it was starting to heat up too. which is usually kind of a good sell
Come over
signal.
here.
But for
They
me,
want to say hi real
normally,
quick. Wave. Come in here. Come over here so they can say hi. There you go. Okay, go. All right, my fault, coach. Go ahead. Do your thing.
nah, all good. But typically when I'm trading, it's all relative to like the size, your position size too, and percentage. But you know, anytime. I mean, really, this is again we're streaming right now, and I just kind of like set a hard stop on there just to make sure that I wouldn't lose. But typically, I mean, shit, if I got in something at 150, you're looking at, what a 10%. I'm tired right now. 10% would have been a 10% gain would have been right here at 165. Um, and I mean, really, I probably would have had like a looser stop, maybe set it like a trailing stop at 5 cents, somewhere around there. And once it's really started rolling like this, and so I probably would have got stopped out somewhere around here, and then been waiting for a new entry point. And right now, my new entry point would probably be, two bullish candles above a red. But I'm still in right now. I'm just watching. um, but it all depends, right? Usually I'll do like either set a percentage point or do a hard like trailing by a certain amount, like trail this by 25 cents, depending on the size, trail by 5 cents, and just ride it up.
I'm texting the principal right now. I feel like we don't have school today. They're like so confident. I'm like, you sure?
Yeah, I'm gonna look it up for you. Watch.
Well, it's they got these little private school now, so I don't know if it's
Oh,
different.
okay. Never mind.
Yeah, I don't know.
I was gonna just look up the school district in general and see, but I know like most schools are out, but teachers, for us at least, we have a staff development day today. But the schools in general, like all the kids are home, private schools and public, I think.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Lisa
Oh
says, "Are
man.
you still holding GME?" Yes, unfortunately, I am. I say unfortunately just because it's been so frustrating, but um, I mean, to me, with GameStop, just and I know you've heard me say this before, but it's like the company's been pivoting for a while. They got so much stuff going on. They even have an NFT team that's working on like NFTs and crypto and all that kind of stuff, and um, they've been pivoting into like more online sales. I even saw recently they've been eliminating a lot of their brick and mortar stores, which is going to help them with revenues down the road. And it almost looks like, you know, again, I don't think that they're going to be ever in direct competition with Amazon. But if you look at what happened with like Chewy, they ended up in the pet space, competing with Amazon and being one of the largest online retailers. And it's like I really feel like from a fundamental standpoint, at some point, GameStop is going to be worth a lot more than what it's trading at. It's still got a relatively low float. I think it's at about 110 million. I could be off on that. I haven't looked in a long time. But then when you look at the squeeze potential and everything else, yeah, Ortex data isn't going to show you, what's really going on. But there's been so much research into that stock and what's going on there with the manipulation and the way that they're hiding a lot of the short positions and failure to delivers and everything else. And I just feel like, at this point, it seems to have held a nice base for a while. That I think there's way more upside than there is downside in GameStop right now. That being said, whenever it does pop again, if it pops back up and hits 350 and starts falling, I'm jumping out. And I'll look to get back in at a lower price, but 350's been like that wall that it hasn't been able to break through. But I'm gonna definitely wait and see because if it does break through 350, who knows how high it can go. I really feel like back in January it was ready to touch 1,000 if they wouldn't have done that market manipulation, you know, and turn off the buy button and everything else that happened with that. Um, but there's definitely been some nice pops, you know, where it's gone from, you know, where it's at right now, 175. It's been in that range, and then popped up to 350, and then it gets, and then it's like they pull the rug out, and then you know it starts all over again. So I'll definitely be looking to get out if it hits 350 and starts falling, but otherwise I'm gonna try to hold it and see how high I can go. I really think that like GameStop and is one of the rarest. I don't know if you'll ever see anything like this again in the markets. Just how like the crazy amount of manipulation, um, you know, and the retail interest behind it, and you know, not to down or knock AMC or anything like that, but AMC's a different animal. I mean, they've diluted the float what 5 times over since the original short squeeze thing back in January, and you know, at the time AMC wasn't even really a short squeeze play. It was more of a reopening play. It became a squeeze play. There's definitely manipulation happening with AMC too, and I think AMC is kind of in that boat with GameStop where there's all this hidden short interest and everything else, but much larger float. It doesn't really have the fundamental side that I see in GameStop, at least. And that's why if I had to pick between the two of those, that's why I've always been in GameStop. But I think they both have huge potential to pop, and it makes no sense, but it's happening, you know. And it's like if people are buying it, people are holding the stock, and you know, the way GameStop's going right now, the volume's been so low that any sort of volume is gonna make this thing explode, and it's bound to happen at some point.
You see, Prog's chart is just like Clove's chart right now. I mean, man, it's crazy how similar these charts become just for the day. Like you look just for the day, you know, up in the pre-market, you pretty much have a bullish flag forming. You
Yeah,
got this accumulation zone that just kind of complete. You got 2 candles in a row that are bullish. It's gonna probably run up a bit. It's pretty fucking crazy to me, man. Like again, I've always kind of waited and bought the dip after some of the runners in the pre-market when they gap up and kind of rode that high a little bit. You know, sometimes you're right, sometimes you're not. Um, I'm more of a swing trade, momentum trader type, if you will. Before the last probably like 6 months, last 6 months, I've been doing a little bit more like, you know what, let me have some fun here. Let me do some day trading here. And that's why, man, that book you gave me, or not gave me, but suggested, obviously, man, these charts don't lie. It's crazy to me, man. They really just don't lie. They tell the whole story. It's
yeah.
eerie.
No, I mean, I would definitely if I was still. I mean, I'm already in, but I would have been a buyer here, and
Yeah,
maybe with the stop loss at 158 right now. You know, below 158, just because it seems like it's
it
holding
should.
this EMA right here, this 20 EMA. So like, you know, that would be like my initial stop loss. Um,
That's what I'm seeing. It's respecting the 20 EMA. It's about to push past the 9 EMA, which it just did. And you might get a nice little pop from here. Obviously, it can go either way, but I think that's what's important about the profit to loss ratio. I never really had the math down point. I'm just a numbers guy as it is. So I'm like, all right, man, if I'm happy, I'm happy. If I'm not, I'm not. I'm pulling the trigger. So I'm always just watching whatever stock I'm kind of day trading for the most part. But, you know, now I'm one thing I got to get better at, man, is let my runners run. That's the one thing that I'm saying, man. I do a really bad job at. Like I shave, and then I end up, you know, the rest I didn't shave. It gets humbled. It kind of comes down a little bit, and then I finally just stop loss out of it. And then in other cases, I just sell all because I'm happy with the gains. But it's like, damn, it just kept running. Damn, it just kept running, and I just find myself selling too soon on the run ups, and at least I'm disciplined enough to kind of sell on the way out. There's been a couple times where I've been like, you know what, I'm gonna hold it a little longer, and then got lucky enough for it to kind of bounce back. But you end up sitting in a trade way too long when you do that. You
yeah.
notice that?
Let me pull this up real quick. The book, I'm trying to find that book for you right now, Solstice. It's called How to Day Trade for a Living. Um, Let me see. I'm gonna pull it up right here on Amazon. I'll even drop you a link to it. Um,
I'm gonna be honest. At first, I was getting a little bit annoyed. At first, I'm like, all right, man, get to the part, get to the juicy part. Come on, man, get to the parts. And I realized, like, damn, you better feel good knowing that a lot of this stuff you already know. It's literally for like the beginners of beginners. Like if you didn't know what the stock market was at all, and you're getting into it for the first time. That's the way he
Mm-hmm.
explains it. That's how thorough he is. And I love that actually, because now I'm like, oh shit, I think I got into chapter 5 or 6 before I finally like actually started like learning for the most part. It was like almost like an introductory the first few chapters. And man, I suggest this book. I'll suggest it to anyone that has questions about day trading because it definitely breaks it down for you.
Yeah, so there's the book
Definitely.
right there. It's How to Day Trade for a Living by Andrew Aziz. That's actually his name down there, but great book, and he's got some other books too. But yeah, I mean, even just going into like, I know I'm playing Prog, definitely not by the book for sure. But that's if you were like, if I was sitting here and doing this like I normally would have, I probably would have got stopped out somewhere around here, right? So you figure that would have been from 150 to 167. You made 17 cents. Then you come down, and I just talked about this other entry point. I would have got back in at 160, you know, and now you're riding it back up, and you can actually make more by doing that, by having your trailing stops or having your stop losses. All right, yeah, you may not make the full 169, but you got out. And now when you see this crossover again, or you get your new entry point, now you're back in and you're actually making more than I am right now, still holding from that initial $1.50 point. You know what I mean? So being able to kind of stick and move and get out, and you know right now, I would definitely be looking for this to not break 169. If it gets stopped at 169 and starts heading back in the other direction, I'll probably get back out or get out. But otherwise, if it breaks through 169 and goes above 170 and starts hitting new highs, I would imagine we'll see a bigger run. Let's see here.
It's a trip, man. It's a trip.
Yeah, Lisa, no, you're right. It says can't play shoulda, woulda, coulda. Best shot and move on. Yeah. And you can never be upset with taking profits, right? I mean, anytime you can get profits, shit, it's never good to look back, because then you start, beating yourself up all the time. Like, man, I could have, if I would have just stayed in, I could have did this. If I would have, it's good to learn from your mistakes, but at the same time, if you played everything by the book or by your own rules and what you said, don't look back, because then you start breaking your rules,
Right.
because I would have made way more if I would have just broke my rule and did this, and then the next time you break your rule, you'll get burned and the trade will go against you and you'll lose money. So it's better to just be
Yeah.
disciplined, and anytime
That's where that's what I'm trying to learn though, because it's like you said, I'm always trying to learn. If you can learn from learning from mistakes are easy, right? It's like the easiest way to learn. But learning from something that necessarily wasn't a mistake is what's difficult, because like you said, you take profits and you're like, yeah, I took profits, let's go. But if you can actually figure out something that works, whether you're taking the resistance, and if it surpasses its new resistance, you know what I mean, for the day, maybe you'll ride that until it starts to kind of curve, and form a new resistance. If that comes to become support, you know what I mean. There's a lot of things that you kind of try and like
Hey,
learn.
Ghost, I'm gonna go check on my kids real quick.
Oh yeah, do your
You
thing.
mind? Yeah, just
No, yeah,
take
do your
over
thing, do
for
your
one
thing.
second.
I got you. What's going on, everybody? Let's get caught up with the chat, man. Not for nothing, man. We got no financial limits tonight. Mondays, every Monday is an hour and 15 minutes prior to the kickoff. I'm only bringing it up because, man, me and Coach are so dialed in when we're going over some of these stock plays, some of these squeeze plays, and then even more so when we're going over the sports, because that's our passion as well. That sometimes we forget to kind of address the chat. So we're going to change up the format a little bit so we can be a lot more engaged with everybody. So, man, I encourage you guys to come and have some fun with us, man. It's always a blast having a good time with Coach, man. I appreciate you guys for always showing love. But I want to get into the chat real quick just to make sure we're not leaving anyone out. Is anyone holding ATER? Says CT. I think Coach is holding ATER. That's a really promising squeeze play in his eyes. So he always talks about how he's holding it. Turt says he's holding it. The name of the book, you saw that. Obviously, he just put it up, How to Day Trade for a Living. It's a solid book, man. It's a solid book. I know he just posted it, but it's a solid book, man. If you're really trying to learn some things. I know for me, man, this has been more of like the take on the challenge type of a thing for me. I'm already doing really well in the industry for stocks, and I've already done, I already have a career, fortunately so. And I'm I just want to kind of challenge myself. It's fun. It's a lot more fun to wake up and hit this for a couple of hours and then get to work on my normal day-to-day task. But it's pretty cool, man. Yeah, the trailing stop loss, but I appreciate you saying that. Yeah, I do that. I definitely put the trailing stop loss, and I'm moving my stop loss up if that's what trailing stop loss is. I'm just manually doing it. I'm just going in there and I'm changing my limit. I'm changing my limit every time it's starting to kind of surpass its new resistance or something I see in the chart. But there's still a little bit of a trick to something I'm missing, because something in the book that I'm getting into right now is where he doesn't DCA on day trades, right? So he doesn't down cost average at all. In fact, those are when he's just getting out. But he does add to some of his runners for the day. And that's what kind of like contradicts the style I've always been involved in. It's like, whoa, if it's running, I already invested enough to let it run. And then as it starts to kind of, again, test its form of resistance as its support, a lot of times that's where I'm kind of getting out if it breaks that. But yeah, man, it's adding to some of these trades that are making sense, that I guess you can really put yourself in a winning position. But I have a hard time doing that. It's like, I'm going to add to this. I already bought an X amount of shares. I'm already kind of happy. This is what I thought it would hit. It hit that. Time to get out. But there's an art to this, man. And I know everyone has their own style. And I'm just trying to kind of figure out my style, to be quite honest with you, because it really is pretty impressive. And yeah, Lisa, I agree. Can't play the shoulda, woulda, coulda. I'm not even complaining about it. Profit's profit. I'm excited about it. But I like to bounce some ideas off a coach sometimes, because there is a little bit of things you can learn from everyone and kind of hone in and make that decision that works for you. Your daughter is a holiday ham. Blessed you are, says Michael D. Yeah, man. I got 3 daughters. I feel extremely blessed. They're all healthy. They're all beautiful. I just know in like a decade from now, I probably won't have a mohawk anymore. I'll probably have crow's feet on these eyes of mine, because it's definitely going to be scary, man. It's going to be scary, man. It's going to be scary, man. I try to enjoy every moment now. You know what I mean, Coach?
Yeah. No, absolutely. That's the one thing that I always say. Like, I always joke that, that's the one reason I'm glad I have boys, so I don't have to deal with girls in high school, man. You know what I mean? I feel for you. 3. So ATER's popping right now too, man. Shit. I missed out on that one in terms of a trade. I mean, that would have been a good opportunity based on just playing that, cross above the 50. You would have been able to get into this thing at 786, and I mean, it's rolling right now, and it's got
ATER
room to get upwards of 10. 10 is max pain. Anything past 10 is going to kick off a gamma squeeze, in my opinion. But I got stopped out last week at 895. And now I'm just waiting. I'll day trade it some more, but I'm waiting for it to see it, approach 10 and maybe try to get in for that ride above 10. Because if it breaks through 10, ATER's got a lot of room to move, especially with this gamma squeeze potential that it has right now. So,
can you put ATER on the main one that you have PROG on right now?
Yeah. Switch it.
I just want to see something real quick. This is Thinkorswim you're using?
Yeah. And this is and it's all customizable too, bro. Like you could, like right now I have, this set up with 1 here and 3 here. You could change it to 8, 16. You could just do 2 side by side. You can go in here and basically, like if I click right here right now, custom grid, you see all these things popped up. So if I wanted to, I could add in another one here. I'm taking that out right now though. But you know what I mean? So you could do basically anything, man. And you could, save these as
You could
tabs. So
change
you
all
could,
the colors in the background, change the candle color, all that, huh?
yeah. I mean, you could make the candles anything you want. You can, these are pre-built studies that are already in there. But I mean, if you look at the studies, look at, I mean, there's just any study you could think of, man, is already in here. That you could throw in.
Correct me if
Um,
I'm wrong, but you do a Ameritrade, and this comes with the Ameritrade, you were saying?
Yeah, so if you set up an Ameritrade account, you don't even need to fund the account. You could just set up the account, and then once you get that login and password, you could now download their software, which is this Thinkorswim, and just roll with it. The only thing I don't like about Thinkorswim is this. Where's it at? I don't know if I even have it up here right now, but the the level 2. See, right now I'm using this level 2 over here is actually from my Charles Schwab app because it gives you the whole order book, where I could scroll through and see shit. We're looking
Or
at
what
PROG
buys are
right
coming in,
now.
what sales are coming in?
I can actually scroll through this thing all the way down to like, level orders that are in there at $3, orders that are in there at, whatever. You could scroll through the entire order book, right? But when you look at the level 2 on Thinkorswim, it just gives you, I think, like the top 10, or basically it gives you like the most recent order for each exchange. So you'll see like the closest NASDAQ, the closest RCA, the closest EDGX, the closest, and that's it. So you don't
And so
get to
you
see the
can't
whole
continue to
depth.
scroll.
Yeah. And that's the only thing I don't like about it. But other than that, I love Thinkorswim, man. I mean, there's so much you could do in there. You can customize scanners. You could they even have it where you could download stuff that other people have built, which I know a lot of these other ones have now too. But like you can go online and find someone else's setup and download that. You could download other people's scanners and install them and all kinds of stuff like that. Very Disturbed says, does Thinkorswim have a trial? Because I had an account open to paper trade options. They closed it out. Huh. I don't know. I thought Thinkorswim, for me, it just came along with the brokerage account. Like I just set up an account and then you get the Thinkorswim with it. But maybe you have to fund that account within a certain amount of time, maybe. You know what I mean? Like actually have some
Right.
money sitting in the account to do it. But that's the other cool thing about it too, is you could paper trade options. So people that are trying to learn options and figure out how they work, you can go in there and buy options in there on the paper trade side, skip ahead a week and see how those prices were affected, and kind of play around with that too, which is really amazing.
Absolutely. What's up, Cuckoo Bird? He said the dynamic duo's in the house, man. What's up, Cuckoo? Cuckoo's the man.
Said Scotty's at Disney. Imagine Scotty and Mickey throwing one back. That's funny, man. We got to see. Well, Scotty said he's gonna come on the show on Friday from Disneyland.
Hey, that's dope.
Damn. So Prague is still moving. It broke through this 169. It had hit this resistance there and kind of fell back down, and now it hit 170. So
You could pull it back up on your main one. I know you're in that.
it's all
I
good.
just wanted to see
I'll leave ATER up too. I mean, I'm watching them, and then I actually on this other monitor I have the 3 plays that like I got Clove up, I got PROG up with the same thing just through my up here where I actually enter in my trades and stuff. So I got it up. I'm good. But yeah, it's funny because I don't even remember what the hell did I write down earlier. The plays that I had through the scanner that I was gonna play today was Ptgx. And I mean shit, that's not even, I guess I would have maybe jumped in here. But FLXN.
Just got an alert that Sheeb is up 20% again.
Damn. And
Fuck.
EZFL. But honestly, looking at these, it's funny because like I think the description of this video says ATER, PROG, Clove, kind of like the same plays that we've been in and been talking about and bouncing in and out of. And those actually have been the best day trade opportunities so far today too. I mean, they're running. PROG's running. ATER's running. What else is out? SDC's not doing very good. GREE looked like it popped a little bit.
It looked like all of the miners were doing crazy because of Bitcoin, man. Bitcoin looks like it wants 60K.
Yeah, BBIG popped too.
I'm telling you, if Bitcoin breaks 64K, it's gonna run, man.
Oh shit, I'm not even paying attention, dude. AMC and GameStop are running right now too. GameStop's up 8% right now.
Wow. Seriously?
Yeah,
GameStop
man.
is? You said GameStop is?
Yeah. Look at that.
Oh God. Oh God.
I'm not even looking to sell GameStop until, like I said earlier, if we get back to 350, that's where I'm going to be looking to exit. Like if it hits a wall at 350 and falls back down, I'm getting out. If it blows past 350, I'll stay in for the ride. But so like that's one that I just have like an alert set to like let me know when GameStop gets above 300 again. And that's when I'll start paying like close attention to it.
That's so crazy to me that that's even real.
Yeah,
Like AMC is just, dude. Oof.
See,
I
the
think
charts look similar, but AMC's only up 2% right now. GameStop's up 8%. So like the charts look almost identical. I'm looking at the 5-minute charts on both AMC and GameStop, but percentages are way different.
What's Clove at right now?
Clove currently $8.11, up 3.3%. That's right here. This middle one.
Oh, okay. Yeah, man. This is I feel like it's gonna stair step, man. I really do.
Yeah, it looks like we're where we at? I wasn't even paying attention. It went all the way down to 790. Broke back above VWAP.
Started accumulating.
Yeah, high of the day is 818. I'd imagine we'll go test that, and then who knows? If we look at level 2 on Clove real quick.
Like you said, there's just really not an advantage to pinning it this time around.
Yeah. Well, not when you have all these other stocks that are shit, even PROG right now, the IV on that thing's over 300%. It's like, you could make way more off premiums on PROG, manipulating that stock and pinning it than you can off even even GameStop is low right now. I don't think I've ever seen GameStop's IV since the run up in January, like below 160%, 140%. And I mean, right now, earlier last week, it was at like sub 100. Even right now, IV on GameStop's 99%. It's below 100. That's insane. I haven't seen it that low in hell long.
Where do you go to look at your IV? To look at IV?
So, everywhere is different, right? But like on Thinkorswim, if I pull up the option chain right here, you can see down here it says the implied volatility for the entire chain, and then it also gives you the IV for each individual chain. But usually I'll just look at this implied volatility, and then with my Charles Schwab app, it's a setting that I just added on. Like you could customize what you want to show. So I have it show like the volume, the spread, and the IV. See, like even if you look here, I don't know if you guys could see this, but this is on my Charles Schwab. Right now we're looking at Clove level 2. Perfect. And I have it up there so that it shows the bid, the high, and the ask, the high of the day, the low of the day, previous close, and then I always keep IV up there just so that I could see where IV is on the stock that I'm trading. You know what I mean? So that's just part of my, like what I have in my settings. So a lot of the different ones will allow you to customize and put those settings the way you want them. But it's something that I always pay attention to, just because of the manipulation that we've seen, right? And I really think that when IV gets high, that it makes more sense for these guys to pin the stocks, and that's when we start getting kind of screwed,
We've
So,
always had the similar thought process with this shit. I mean, I hate to be like tinfoil hat, like manipulation. You know what I mean? I hate to do it, but it's like, man, it's too obvious that you know they're using dark pools on purpose. They're when you buy on a dark pool, you're not really affecting the price. And when you sell on a lit market, you're affecting the price. So it's so easy to me to see them have the tools and resources to kind of drop, cost what they need to do. So it's like when there's high IV, why not? Why would you not? Why would you not do that if you had the power to do that?
yep. But
It's too obvious.
let me see. So it looks like Prague is just getting ready to. Now, I know I said I was going to stay in for the long haul on this one, but if it crosses below this 50 SMA, I'm going to take my profits and get out and then look for another entry point. Because right now, it's so basically if it doesn't hold this $1.60, I'm just going to put a stop loss in at 159 right now. Just because
So what's your rule
I
of
just got stopped out. Yeah.
what's your rule of thumb when you as far as selling on up ones? Like, do you have a rule of thumb? Do you have like it's a feeling, it's a vibe? You
I
just keep
mean,
raising the stop loss.
for Prague, because it was I just got stopped out regardless. So because it was I mean, I made 9 cents. I got in at $1.50 and got out at $1.59. But I mean, shit, I had the opportunity to cash in way more. It's just hard to trade when we're doing the stream. But
Right.
with Prague, because this is a play that I thought was like, you know, short squeeze potential, everything else, like we said, it's already trading well above max pain, which means that it should maybe be able to continue to run all, everything else that involved in it. I put a loose stop on it because I wanted to be a part of the bigger move. You know what I mean? When really, normally what I'll do is just kind of like position. Let's say you buy 1,000 shares, of something like this for $1.50. Um, maybe initially I'll try to set up. This is too hard. Let me pull. I'll try. I'll just do this with like ATER. So let's say I got into ATER here, off this break above. Right when I get in at 787, I'll go back down to like, let's say below like this the 9 EMA and set a stop loss right there at maybe like 783, right? So 787 entry, 783 stop loss, because if it ends up pushing down here lower, then obviously I got in wrong. It was a bad entry. Now it starts moving. Typically, I try to lock in as much as possible. So if I was going to do a trailing stop on this is maybe like 5 cents, something like that, and so maybe you would get in at 787. This thing's just popping all the way up. It hits a high at 810. I would have maybe been stopped out here at 805. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now 5 cents on a stock this size. Now, if all of a sudden we're talking about trading, something that's a lot bigger, like a GameStop or something like that, your stop loss might be $1. But usually a lot of
Absolutely.
times too. All right, Lisa, I'll see you later. A lot of times too, you can kind of go off candles, like so sometimes I'll base it off like if we're just stair stepping up with these candles, maybe I'll try to set a stop loss below the last candle, and then that way you'll be in for like kind of a looser type thing, where like okay, this candle ran up, my stop loss is here. After this candle, I'll set a stop loss here. After this candle, and I'll just kind of like slowly move my stop loss up. But even then, you would have been stopped out at some point, right? But who cares? You're locking in profits, and that's what it's all
Right.
about. Or on a runner, sometimes I won't use a stop loss, and I'll just shave on the way up. So let's say like with ATER, we got in here, and I just like, okay, I'm gonna sell 25% of here, and then just let it run. And then now we got way up here and I'm doing good, sell another 25%. All right, now I got up here, sell another 25%. You keep doing that, and now you still have something in for the longer move, Um, really it
So I
just
look
depends,
at
but like if I'm playing multiple stocks or if I'm busy, like right now we're streaming and shit, I'll just set a stop loss, and you know what I mean? As long as I'm not losing, I'm happy.
right, real shit. So I've been doing something kind of new that I normally wasn't doing. Is like I'll put the resistance and I'll put the support and I'll find that channel, for the day, for example. So when you get a breakout and it hits that top high of the day, I'll put that as my new resistance. And then I look at where the first time it starts touching, right? So I'll go back the previous day, what it closed at, use that as like kind of like a guide for like, support, for example. And then depending on if it's tested this, is this a longer resistance a few days out, maybe last week, maybe look at the 1 month chart and kind of see if I can find a little bit more of a rhythm. Because what I'm trying to do right now is like, all right, so here's my plan. I'm buying in at this cost and the support on this is, let's say, 10 cents. But the resistance, I need it to be able to be 20 cents up. So I got a 2 to 1 on it, right? So I'm looking at, let's say it's a $10 stock, maybe 970 is resistant support, and maybe $10 is resistance. I'm trying to get around the 980 range. So if it drops to resistance, that's fine. I lose my 10 cents. But if it pushes up 20 cents and breaks its resistance, hits its all-time high, which is where I think it is because it's maybe an accumulation phase. And I've been pretty accurate on kind of telling where the story is. But again, it hits the resistance, and I'm like, I'm out.
Yeah. I mean that's definitely and that's something else too. Like when I was day trading, like one thing that's what I was talking about earlier, like picking three stocks and just trade those stocks, because really what you want to do, like let's say if you were ATER's one that you were going to day trade today, you'd probably want to go to a daily chart, make sure you draw in like your major support and resistance levels that you have in case there's some huge breakouts. Then maybe pull up like a 4 hour chart and do the same thing. Look for like major support. And then, like you said, go to a 5 minute and look at like yesterday's low, yesterday's high, maybe for the last 5 days. And you want to mark all these lines. So now when you come in today and you're day trading today, you're going to have a ton of lines down here and up here. So as it starts to break out, where there's going to be these specific levels of support and resistance, and like you could
Yeah, because check it out. If you look where that first red wick is, go to the left a little bit. One more. The second red, okay, one more over. So that's kind of like its resistance on the day
okay.
originally. It broke that resistance and went up, right? So now that becomes ultimately its support. And if
Yep.
you look, once it broke all the way to the top, it came back down and kind of tapped off that original resistance, which is now its support, daily support. And
Yep.
then it's starting to run up again. And so that's what I've been doing as far as like finding how close to buy, when it's hitting that support. And I kind of sometimes I might wait to see if it actually bounces off support. Like on the third bullish flag, it starts to kind of trail out, maybe lose some of its buying power. So I'm a little bit more, tentative on those ones. But that's what I've been doing for the most part, is finding that support weekly, monthly, and then also that new day and that new resistance, that new support. And I kind of just keep updating it. So I'll add a line for when it breaks through its resistance, and I'll see, okay, is that going to be its new support? Because maybe it's not going to come all the way down to the support originally we just marked. Maybe it's going to use that new resistance as its new support. So, and you kind of play that game of where you think it's going to kind of pan out for the most part.
I'm
And
just
it's
looking
pretty,
to see if that was any long term support on this one, this 835 mark.
that's the daily support you just did.
Nah, so I drew that line that you were talking about. I'm probably gonna crash this shit right now. There we go. I drew
Right,
that line you were talking about because you can't see
right,
that's
right,
where
right.
this candle closed. That's where this one popped. But I'm just wondering, like, if you looked back, you know, was there other support levels there? It looks like, right here in pre-market. So that
Mm-hmm.
does look like something that, like, at least on the 5 minute level, look, it
Right.
bounced off that 3 days ago too. So I mean, those are, that's where exactly if you go through and draw
So that's
in,
my stop loss. That would be
yeah,
my stop loss point. and I try to get in as close as I can. But I do the math, like what was his resistance today? Like what's its all-time high of the day, or daily high, I should say.
Yeah.
What's the daily high today?
Today is 875.
And then what's that resistance you put? Or support put it at?
834.
The line we just put.
834.
So you got about 40 cents, right? So I'm trying to get close to like the 845 range. That gives me 10 cents down, 30 cents up. That's a 3-to-1. And that's what I'm doing. I'm waiting for it to kind of accumulate there if it does. You know what I mean? That's the other part. Sometimes it just, those daily runners just kind of keep running. Now I'm looking at, is it crossing the 9 to 20 to 50? Do I want to jump back in even though it hasn't hit its, support line? A lot of things that go into play on these things, man, but it's intriguing.
Yeah.
It's definitely intriguing.
It looks like it might be coming back down.
So yeah, right now to me
to
it's
even try to touch it. But I get what you're saying. So you're saying like somewhere around 845, you maybe throw in your limit buy order right now. Try to get in, and if it comes down and taps it and gets you in, you already have your stop loss set at 834. So that's your
but
downside
I'll do it a couple
risk.
cents.
And yeah, and you're caught.
I'll do like 832 just to make sure because it might bounce off support, right? So I go a couple cents in this case below support. That way, if it does still bounce off, maybe break that 833 even, I don't get stopped out. But yeah, it'll be a couple cents in. So that's a 3-to-1 profit to loss ratio. If it does test its 875 of the day, I'm winning. If it drops below and hits the support and I get stopped out, that's fine. You know what I mean? I'll jump back in again.
Hell yeah. No, it sounds pretty good to me. I mean, in terms of a way to look at it, like where to get in, where to get out, what trade, what trades to get in. You know what I mean? Absolutely.
And you could tag this a few times, while volume's hot. Obviously, that's the other thing that I really need to pay attention to too, because when you start to see that volume start to die out, usually it's the buying pressure, and usually, it not only breaks that support, but it continues to trail down from that support. Maybe hits the previous support. Because I keep adding support and resistance throughout the entire day. I'm trading the stock. You know what I mean? Right now, it looks like it's kind of accumulating.
So what are you in ATER right now or no?
I'm not in ATER right now.
I'm gonna put PROG back up here because
I'm not in ATER.
I'm looking for a re-entry here now. Now that we're trading back below the daily SMA, the 50, I won't play this unless I start to see it cross back up. Although, like, one thing that, even if you were to like erase all these lines and shit, another strategy that I've used in the past too is just like a VWAP bounce, right? So I mean, it came down here and it's sitting here off VWAP. If all of a sudden, it reverses here off VWAP, then you can kind of look at the same thing too. Like, okay, well, it's got enough.
Are you on a 5-minute?
This is a 1 minute here.
Okay, so look at where VWAP is right now. You draw a line, that's damn near its support of the day.
Yeah.
I mean, it's bouncing off that support a few times. It's accumulating once again. Look at that. It's fucking ridiculous. So for me, what's the cost at right now?
159.
Okay, and that's where it's right on VWAP basically.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean,
so I would enter right now. My stop loss would be the resistance on the former resistance where you got that first hump. If you scroll out a little bit on the daily. So that first hump it's a resist right there. Yeah. What is that at?
150. Shit, it's dropping there too.
Is it?
Well,
what is that one? The 150?
Yeah, this is at 150. VWAP's at 158.
That would be my stop loss now, 148. Couple cents below that support. And then I'd see if I can ride it back up to the whatever it was for the high, 175-ish. Again, you're going to get more than a 3-to-1 on that. You know what I mean? That's where I've been playing it. And so if I get stopped out, I'm like, all right, no worries. Maybe I'll watch it and jump back in unless the volume dried up. I'll probably end up jumping right back in it,
Yeah. See, for me, I would wait for it like the way that I usually play. Like VWAP is wait to see a bounce, right? So if it's coming off 158, it keeps hitting. It's kind of been trading here. As soon as I see it like break out of here, like maybe like 159, 160, then maybe you could play that bounce and maybe see if it goes up. But then again, like my big thing, I usually, you know, I like to be a buyer above the 50 SMA. You know what I mean? I know we've talked about that before, and so I'll kind of
For
like
sure.
wait a little bit there and see too. But no, I mean there's so many strategies, and I mean I know that in that book that we were talking about, there's probably like what 15, 20 different strategies they talk about, and
I've
I
only gone
think the
through a
best
few of
thing to
them.
do is get comfortable and get familiar with like one or two to start off with, and just play those one or two, and then you get comfortable with another one, and eventually you might have four or five that you're really comfortable with, and shit, that's enough. You know what I mean? Because so many other
Honestly,
people will say, "Oh, okay, well this is doing this breakout," and they draw lines and they do all this other shit. And I'm not saying that's bad, but there's just becomes to be so much, right? And the more you're doing, the more mistakes you can make. So if you
too much.
get really good at playing, a few strategies, you could be really profitable. And that's really
Yeah.
what it's all about. See, like Bud saying, he waits for a crossover on the MACD to get into a trade. So yeah, same
Yep.
same type of thing. Like once you see this crossover, and I guarantee you'll kind of see the same type of deal. Like if you look back, the crossover, well, that was way down there. But yeah, if we would have had this VWAP bounce like I was talking about, we probably would have saw a MACD crossover around the same time too. You know what I mean? Um, and
I
shit,
have I have VWAP up. I have the MACD up, the 9 and 20 EMA, and the 50 SMA. And I know it sounds like you said, it's like too much going on. For me, I'm keeping everything in play. So I'm looking at where's volume. I'm looking at VWAP. I'm looking at where's the MACD at. I'm looking at 9, 20, and 50. I'm looking at all of this intertwined and with my supports and my resistance. And that's where I'm trying to pick and choose like that guerrilla trading, right? It's like you're sitting there and this is the stock I want to trade today. I'm watching it. There's going to be a good time that I can get in where I only have that 2-to-1, 3-to-1, 4-to-1 stop loss to, profit to loss ratio. And for me, that's the only way to have a formula. It's like I can't willy-nilly every trade different. I could have different techniques for different trades, but for the most part, you still need to have like that mathematical equation embedded in your mind in order to make sure that good days and bad days will happen, but overall you're winning.
yeah,
And that's, I think, the hard part for a lot of people. They kind of just float. You know what I mean? See where the day takes you. At least that's what I used to do.
absolutely. So Carlos said, "You think we have support at 8 right now?" I just looked at level 2. I see that. I see what you're saying. Like we bounced off it a couple times here. We came down and touched 8, came back down and touched 8. But just looking at level 2, yeah, I mean, it looks like there's a lot of buyers right around 801 all the way down to like 798. So somewhere in that range, yeah. I wouldn't say $8 on the nose, but
Support right now.
anywhere down there, it looks like there's buyers kind of lined up right down here. 798, 799, $8.
Yeah, I'm seeing 790 as like if you really want to call it support. It's bounced off 790 all day.
Let me see.
Not all day, but it hasn't gotten beyond that.
Oh yeah, if we like really zoom out.
Yeah, right. Like that's where my support would be 790. I'm not day trading Clove obviously, but if I was, I'd be trying to get in right now. To be honest with you, I'd be getting in around 795. That's
Just
5 cents down to the 790 and then 815. So you got a 3-to-1, maybe even 4-to-1 on the day. I'm not day trading Clove. That to me is stupid. It's just not, it doesn't act right as far as everywhere else, goes.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, looks
Just
like it's
looking
forming.
around at some of these other stocks right now. Shit, the SPY is ripping right now. It's up about $2 on the day. Um,
You saw my text this morning, man. I thought I was gonna get a chance to buy some spy calls.
no, I didn't. I actually, dude, I haven't even looked at that thread. I had my at all since we
Yeah, man. I looked and I was like, oh, market's red. Might get a chance to get some spy calls, but it already kind of bounced off the rim.
yeah, I have to look. Usually I wait until the stream's over and then I go catch up on all my text messages and everything. Um, let's see here. Where we at? So I'm actually probably gonna sign off here in a little bit. Just go clean up, man. I got to clean up my backyard after yesterday, barbecuing and stuff. And I just, got some other
Hey, did
stuff.
you? I've been meaning to ask. Did you get into Beyond the Meat like back in March, April of last year?
Get into what?
Beyond Meat, like the actual app, the stock.
Oh no, I didn't. I mean, I've traded it a couple times. If we go back, let me see. I
One of
remember
my
the
buddies
last
was
time I
telling
was
me
in
about it.
Beyond was in I was actually got pretty fortunate when it was right around here. Yeah, I guess that was in January. So
Okay.
this happened like, or maybe it was here. All of a sudden it popped up one day because they announced something like a merger with Pepsi or some sort of something was going on with Pepsi. Maybe it was here. And I had already been holding like around here, and then like overnight it gapped up to like 200 or somewhere. I think it might have been here, but now that I'm looking at the chart, it's been so long. It might have even been somewhere around here. Like I had it, at 105, and it popped up to 160. I think. Shit, I don't know. Yeah, I know it gapped up to 200, and then it came down in pre-market, and I was able to like cash it for a pretty decent gain. Um, But I still like Beyond Meat as a long term play, and the short interest on that's actually been building up right now too. Um, Shit
Hey,
looks
I'm
like it's
actually
sub
signing off
100
right now.
now.
My littlest one just woke up. My littlest one just woke up, and it's just gonna be me and her right now till the wife gets back. So, thanks for having me on tonight, 4 o'clock Pacific Standard
Four
Time.
o'clock, no financial limits. The
I'll see y'all
NFL
soon.
show. All
All
right,
right,
bro.
Coach.
Turn that off. There we go. All right. What was that? That was Beyond. Let's see here. Let me catch up with the chat. For longer term plays, do you worry about a couple of cents here and there, or do you just down cost average? Yeah, I don't. Usually with the long term play, like for instance, let's say like a Clove, if I know I'm going to be holding it, it's a swing trade, and I mean I really don't care if I'm in at 8 or 803 or 797 or 790, because I'm not looking to sell this thing until you know it gets up much higher. Um, that's just for like for a long term play though. But absolutely, I don't really care, and I'll just accumulate. And I know that my cost average is going to fluctuate anyways, because I may actually end up buying more as it's heading up, and um, that cost average is always going to be different. So, what would you say are your highest conviction long term plays? Obviously, like you said, Clove, but I really like DraftKings right now where it's at. But again, I think it might have some downside still in there depending on what the market does. But I really like a lot of the gambling plays that have been beaten down a little bit. I think that they're going to be the next ones to kind of like rebound back. So that would include, I haven't looked in a long time, but like Pins, one of them. I don't even know where that one's trading at right now. Same thing. Look how high or how low they are. I mean, they're all beaten down to about 50% of their all-time highs, and I think that there's going to be a lot of opportunities in here to bounce back. And usually, football season is kind of the. I mean, look at Skills is down at 797. I know it's a different type of business model, but some of these plays are ones that I've been looking at. Right now, I don't have any new plays that I'm like looking to really get into, but these are some of the ones that I've been eyeballing. Skills, Pen, DraftKings, obviously, is one that I'm going to probably jump back into here shortly. Once I kind of get some confirmation that we're done with this turbulence in the market. but But yeah, really like gambling plays has been what I've been looking at recently, just because like I was talking about earlier, like football season is the big time for sports betting, and as we approach like the end of the year and all that betting that's going to be coming in and the earnings reports and everything, I don't know that I would actually hold into earnings, but I'm going to be looking to profit off that momentum that we see probably from like November, December, and January leading up to like February earnings with a lot of these sports betting plays. I think that's going to be where the good opportunities are going to be. Gunslinger says the volume on Clove is lower than what I was hoping for. Yeah, I agree. I mean, don't get me wrong. We're up 2% today. That's awesome. But, in the grand scheme of things, I want to see this stock get back in double digits. I want to see it at 10, 11, somewhere around there. And we are going to need a little bit more volume. And it may be that, an analyst upgrade, something like that, someone else to come in. And because right now on paper, I mean, you got what price targets of 7, 8, 9, somewhere around there. $10, I think, might be the highest price target. So, we need to see the street come in and start reevaluating this stock. ATER looks like it might be ready for another breakout here. Kind of cross this 870 mark. Michael, I might have missed your question. What was your question? Oh, I just seen it. I just went back and seen it. Stupid question. Let's say GameStop runs to 350. You set a stop loss at 300. Then there's a sudden flash crash to 180. Does it cash out at 300 or 180? So what happens with the with the stop loss is it's a market order, right? So what'll happen is you're gonna, if you have that stop loss at 300, once it hits 300, you're gonna be putting in a market order to sell. I don't think you're gonna get out at 180, but you're also not gonna get out at 300, right? So you're gonna sell for whatever the next buyer is on the level 2 is ready to buy for. So you may get out at like 298, 297, 295, maybe even 290. But those stop losses, what happens in those flash crashes when it goes down is like really a stop loss gets hit, right? So now everybody who has stop losses at 300 are all selling into the market and driving it down to, let's say, 290. But now while it's on its way down to 290, you might have people who had stop losses at 295 and 290, and now those are all getting hit, and it's just a continuous stop losses plus shorters, selling into the market as well, that drive it down. So you'll probably get out closer to 300 if that's where your stop loss was. I can go back and I forget what. I'm not even going to try to right now, but there was a day with a flash crash where on GameStop, somewhere back, I don't even remember drawing this. All right, so somewhere back, what day was it? Maybe back here, this huge rip. Either way, I know I had a stop loss set and it triggered, and I think I got out for about 10% less than what my stop loss was at, but I still was able to get back in, you know, lower. So I guess like my stop loss, and I could be totally off on the day, but let's say like my stop loss was at 274. I think I might have got out somewhere around 250, like at 10% lower than what my stop loss was. But I still had the opportunity to get back in, down here at 219. So it'll still protect you from the downside, in the event that something like that happens. But definitely, I'm using a stop loss moving forward with GameStop. After it gets up, if it runs back up to 350, I'm gonna have a stop loss set. That thing's moving today too. 185, looking to break 188. Not bad. It's funny. There was actually there's a dude, YouTuber, name is Charlie's Vids, I think is the name of it, and he actually predicted that today GameStop would start moving again. I think I watched that video back on like Wednesday or Thursday of last week, and he said, I think it was October 11th. He called, or maybe he might have said October 12th or something. But either way, he said that GameStop was going to start moving this week, and it had to do with he really digs into like a lot of the new SEC and NSCC and all that stuff and all that paperwork, and he breaks it all down on his YouTube channel, and really good information there. But based on all this information and everything, he had predicted that GameStop would start running this week. Looks like maybe he was right. Let's see here. DNA getting beat down again. Short report, but ARK bought a bunch of shares. Yeah, Turch was okay. Yeah, Turch was talking about that last week too. All right. Let me see here. So looks like we're at 8 o'clock. I'm gonna actually sign off now. Go make the kids breakfast and start my day. I got a lot of stuff to do today. I'm glad I was able to kind of stay on a little bit later today. Thank you everybody who was joining. Again, don't forget to check us out tonight. Ghost and myself are going to do the NFL show, No Financial Limits. We'll be talking sports and talking stocks, a little bit of everything, just having fun and hanging out leading up to tonight's Monday Night Football game. Looks like tonight is the Colts versus the Ravens in Baltimore. Should be a fun game. With two really good teams. I know the Colts are 1-3, but I feel like they're a little bit better than their record shows. So either way, come join us. Come check us out. We'll be talking tonight, 4 o'clock Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. Thank you guys for joining. If you can't make it tonight, I'll be streaming again tomorrow morning in pre-market starting at 5 a.m. Hopefully be a little bit more woke yet tomorrow. I'm tired right now. I'm really dragging from the weekend. But thank you guys again. We'll see you later.